Hey everyone, GameHounds. How are you? Sorry we are running a bit late, but that's what we do. It's our thing. How are you? We're just finishing up the last little bits of preparations. Look at that, 3 seats today.
I showed up this time.
Yeah. How you feeling, by the way?
Here. I'm awake and here.
Good for you. I'm very proud of you.
I literally got out of bed 30 minutes ago. So
All right, I'm deleting stuff because I don't have storage because that's how we roll. That's my theme that so far in 2022 is I've run out of storage. It started when I went to Iceland and I'm taking pictures and I'm taking video and I get this notification on my phone like you've run out of storage on your phone. Fuck. So I'm like uploading phone. I finally paid for Apple storage to store my photos remotely, which I hate, but I was desperate. Then I come home and then storage issues with freaking Spreaker. We all know that. Now I've got storage issues with StreamYard. They're now automatically storing shows, even though I don't need them stored. And then you get a little like love letter from them whenever I've run out of storage. So I've got to go in and delete something on StreamYard. It's a pain in the ass. So, I was up until 6 a.m. on Friday night watching live streams on Kiev, not Kiev. By the way, Kiev is disrespectful at this point. That's the way the Russians call Kiev, or Kiev.
I'm
Kiev
just
is
going
the
to
actual
not
name of the
say
place. Yeah, it's Kiev. Is the respectful Ukrainian way of saying their city, which did exist independently of Russia, no matter what Russia says. So yeah, I was up watching that and playing Crusader Kings. Was up until 4 a.m. last night watching watching Kiev streams and playing Crusader Kings. I wish I had taken a screenshot of what I've got going. The fast food nation is like a blight on the world right now. And it's really funny. I'm watching these streams of Kiev and on one side of my screen and the other side of my screen, I'm invading what is now Ukraine from Poland. It's like I'm playing along and I just realized, oh shit.
Are you trying to reenact history in real time?
No, because A, not called Fast Food Nation. B, I'm invading from the Poland side. But I'm trying to unite the Slavs. I'm doing them a favor. Of course, I'm sure Putin thinks that too.
I'm sure Putin's saying the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just Putin.
I'm saving them. I'm uniting them as the Slavs should be. I've united the Western Slavs. Now I need to unite everybody. And
under
yes, now
your fucking McDonald's fast food kingdom. You're disgusting.
And tonight, before I go to sleep, as God is my witness, I am going to vassalize the Pope.
As God is my witness, by tonight I will rule Ukraine.
I will. No, Ukraine I already got. That's
okay.
Down. That's down and done. Okay. No. We're moving into Russia now.
Oh, look, Putin's got nothing on you. You took Ukraine. You're going to take Russian now too.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm getting my revenge on Putin. No, now I'm going to have the Pope as a vassal. I'm going to vassalize the Pope. And then I will have all of Italy.
This is a very tactful podcast. Like we're really sensitive to what's going on in the world right now. Like,
oh yes, yeah, absolutely. By any chance, have you seen The Great on Hulu?
No,
I don't have Hulu. Okay, now, well, if you end up getting it, it's like a kind of dark satire about Catherine the Great. It's a great show.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
The guy who plays the king, Nicholas Holt, he brings like this Nicolas Cage manic energy to the role. And the Catherine the Great is played by Elle Fanning, and she's a great straight woman, like learning how to be a conniving, like partway through she realizes, oh shit, I married a fucking psychopathic idiot. I need to kill him. How do I do that? How do I set up an assassination?
How does one commit regicide?
Exactly. It's in a lot of ways, it is like a game of Crusader Kings, where it's like, how do I force Gump my way to regicide?
Yes. Yeah, I've had to do that a couple of times. I've had been married to somebody that just wasn't cutting it anymore. She didn't provide me any alliances anymore. She's kind of old and not producing children, doesn't really have great stats to assist me. So it's like, I asked the Pope for divorce. Pope says, yeah, I really kind of like her. Like the last 4 times you've asked for divorce on your former guys, the queen was kind of an asshole. This queen's kind of good. We like her. It's like, all right, queen is going to have an unfortunate accident.
No.
And she has. I've also had to have unfortunate accidents for my patriarch. You don't get to control. You've got 6 people on your council, your wife, your patriarch, and then your vassals that you can name to things like, your diplomat, your steward who controls your money, your marshal who controls the military, and your spy master who essentially is your spy master. And you can control who your wife is and everybody else except the patriarch. The church names the patriarch. And sometimes you're like, your patriarch died. Ah, damn it. And they just all of a sudden install a new one. And he's awful. He's terrible. And you can't fire him. You can't get rid of him. There is no way to get rid of a bad patriarch.
I think you're really the problem with a monarchy, like in general. I think that's you're describing the very problem with it.
Yeah. And I frequently have vassals that are like, we're supporting the claim of XYZ cousin that has claims to your empire. And it's like, really? I am constantly fighting stress from exploding and blowing my head off of me and dying of stress. You think you really want an empire? Really? You can have it. But of course, I just I have ways.
AC, oh my God. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
AC Wraith put in an epic rap battle for Russian leaders. It's Alexander the Great versus Ivan the Terrible. I was a little disappointed it's not Alexander the Great versus Catherine the Great. That would have been a good rap battle.
They both have great in the name.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, what do I want to do? Oh, games that you have played.
Oh, Warhammer 3.
Really good. I want to find out more about that. Because that just came out, right?
Yeah. More Dying Light 2.
Okay.
Technically RimWorld, but I'm not sure I'll have much to say about that. It's an older game, so it's kind of like I hate talking about older games because it's been out forever. Like,
nothing wrong with that. Sometimes people want to come back to their old games.
Look, I have an example of so naturally Elden Ring came out on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So of course I've spent the past couple days playing more Ender Lilies. So if you want reviews about the latest and greatest in video games, go watch someone else.
Ender Lilies?
Yes. So yeah, don't worry, Andrew. Like, I'm in the same boat. There's so many new games that came out, and I'm playing the same thing that I've played the past 3 weeks.
It's a problem. All right. So I got Dying Light 2 and I'm like, all right, I need to beat this. Like, this is a game.
That's a huge fucking game.
It's not as big as you'd think.
Oh, really? Okay.
The 500 hours was like a completionist run of it.
Well, not just that. That seems like even going straight and doing side quests is like a 60-hour game.
If you just did the quests, like just beelined quests, it's about 20 hours.
I don't do that though.
No, if you kind of did side stuff and like mostly focused on the quest, it would be probably 35, 40. I'm at like 50 something, I think. I forget my exact time on it, but so I bought that and I'm playing it, and then Warhammer 3 drops. So I buy that. Of course I do. I have adult money. But I still need to beat Dying Light because I bought it.
The first one or the second one?
Second one.
Okay.
I just need to beat it. Like it's my mantra now. And then Lost Ark pops up, and I'm like, ooh, that looks pretty. And that's free, but it's an MMO grinding Korean MMO. Like, that'll suck my life away if I want to. And then I end up playing Wormworld, which isn't any of the new games I just bought. And now Elden Ring's out. That looks kind of good. I'm tempted to buy that. Risk of Rain 2 is having an expansion come out tomorrow or like the day after, and I'm gonna get that. And all I'm sitting here is just like, beat Dying Light. Finish the food on your plate. Don't buy 3 new games.
You don't have to finish your plate. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with not finishing a game. You play it until you're not done with the game, until you're done in wanting to play the game.
If the food is good, you want to finish it. You want to eat it all. Before February, like February has all these big games coming out, like Dying Light,
right?
Horizon, Elden Ring, and Sifu were like my 4 big ones. I knew that I would not be able to fit all those, so I decided long ago, I'll buy Elden Ring, I'll buy Sifu, and I'll play those. I've bought both of those games, and I'm fucking playing Ender Lilies.
And see, I have so many quarter-eaten foods in the trash right now. And it's like, finish it.
No, life is good. It's good to be in this situation. It is good to have this many games out.
These are first world problems, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just a little self-control, and we'll talk more about Dying Light too, because last time I talked about it a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna mend some of that.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's see. What are we doing? I need to pull up YouTube so that we can actually do the show. And we've got no audio broadcast yet. I still have to fucking do that.
It's only 4:30. It's fine.
I suck. Oh no, do not use that.
Seafood looks great. I want to get that now. Apparently it's on PC and it's on the Epic Game Store, which kind of sucks. I was hoping it'd be on Steam.
Is it not on Steam at all?
No, it's on Epic Game.
Oh,
I don't know if it's timed or not, but yeah.
I beat Ender Lilies yesterday. I beat it twice, and I got ending A and ending B, but there's an ending C, and I don't know how to get it, and I need to do that tonight, and then I can start playing Sifu.
AC Wraith tried to keep up.
Yeah, you did great. I don't think you missed any. You are fine. Let's start the show in earnest. I think Nick, let's see, what games did you have? You mentioned them all. What was it? Ender Lilies,
that's it.
Okay. All right. I've got mine. Oh, and not just Ender Lilies, but you also played Rainbow Six Extraction.
Oh, yeah, I guess I played a little bit of that.
Yeah, the new events that they've got going. All right, so shall we start officially this fucking show, which is kind of pointless because we've already started.
Show. And I will say,
so thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to GameHounds. We appreciate it. We appreciate every single one of you. And I want to take a special time to shout out to our Patreon patrons that are the ones that I have never appreciated you enough as much as I appreciate you right now with all of our trouble with the audio stream. Were it not for you, we wouldn't have a show. This has kept us going, and this is what you have paid for. Thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone who not only is on our Patreon, but who has ever spent anything on our Patreon, even if you canceled it. Thank you. You're the reason we're here. It's us here because of you. So if you want more information, if you want to join Patreon, we only ask $1 a month. That's all we ask to bring you this every week. It has kept us on life support. So yeah, you are our saviors. Thank you. But patreon.com/GameHounds, $1 a month. If you add it all up, it comes out to at the most about 25 cents a show, which is not bad considering we put out a 2.5 to 3 hour show every week.
It's
Most
quality.
every week.
It's quality. We show up on time. We're punctual.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. We stay on topic. We talk about games and only games.
Only the newest games that just came out.
Games. Nothing like Peacemaker. You know, we're not going to go into how great of an ending that show had.
Dude,
no,
Peacemaker. We won't go into it, but it was fantastic. I loved everything about it.
Yeah. Not going to get into how
we only have the best internet always. Everything is always crystal clear in 4D.
Where else would you get blurry?
12D.
Everything you see like on my screen is a purposeful choice.
Yeah,
I love the fact that your stream just got pixelated as I'm saying that. This just got shitty. It's like the gods are listening.
This is a choice.
It's a filter. Okay, I got it.
I am the Picasso of podcasters. This
your face is all wonky.
The abstract use of color. This is what Rembrandt would be doing.
Right here. Here's your NFT, guys. Here's your NFT right here. Nope, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Crap. How do I get this to go all the way out? There you go.
I'm also just realizing that I didn't plug into the router.
Blurry Nick NFTs. That's what we got.
Wait,
here.
They're making me use. They're making me use. What? Why are they not allowing?
You know how like YouTubers have like all those shocked faces in the thumbnails, like.
There we go.
Those are going to be the GameHounds NFTs.
There's Picasso right
faces.
There. Yeah.
There's your NFT.
We're gonna have 2 sets of NFTs. We're gonna have Blurry Nick and then Thursday Nick. We can make this a whole thing.
Yep.
Oh, it's not good.
All right, so let's talk games. What we haven't played. We talked sort of, but let's go deeper dive into it. Who wants to go first? Let's hit Warhammer 3 because it is the newest game that has come out.
Right. So Total Warhammer 3. It just dropped. If you know what it is, you can kind of expect the same thing. It's if you've ever played a Total War game, how it works is you have this overarching map that has all of the like countries in it, and you usually start off as a nation or faction, and you build up units, and you kind of like not civilization, but kind of that idea of taking turns. You have a limited movement range, and you kind of move your units, and then when you start a battle, you actually like go into a battlefield and control your units in a real-time strategy setting. I enjoy it. It's fun. I need to get more into it. It's a game that like if you're playing, you can play it for a while. You can just sit down and it's another turn. You're making moves constantly. There is, I think, 8 factions, or no, not 8 factions, like 10 factions you can play as. And of course they're going to add more. There seems to be an emphasis on like the demon factions in this game. Yeah, as you can see on screen, this is a battle that takes place, and you make certain units, and you kind of just play that out.
And this is real time. This is not
Yes.
turn based. Okay.
No, you can pause it or slow down time, but
Okay.
yes. So I don't know much about the other Warhammers because I didn't play them a lot. So I watched a review about this one and the various factions, and the takeaway seems to be that there is quite a few bugs that are kind of risky. So like they suggested not really getting the game yet. That this is a person who placed all of them. Unless you know what you're getting. Like if this is exactly what you want, you're not going to find it anywhere else. If you played the other ones and you know you're going to get this one, get it. It's fine. You know what you're going to get. But there are currently a handful of bugs that, well, don't necessarily end your game, like kind of crash and can kind of limit your fun. Oh, sorry about this. My brain's still turning on. One thing that's going to be cool is later down the road. So in 1 and 2, they have this thing called Mortal Realms. And what they did is they combined all the factions and that you could play in 1 and that you could play in 2. And if you own them both, you could play on something called Mortal Realms, which was like a giant map that had all the factions for both games. And you could play as any faction. And apparently they're going to do that with this one because this is a trilogy. And they're going to put every faction from the first, second, and third game into one giant map. And you can play any of the factions and like play through that as a campaign.
That's pretty ambitious.
Yeah, it is. And it sounds kind of awesome. Like that sounds awesome to me.
But that's not in here yet. It's
in
theory something that's coming.
They do like some of the factions, like the individual demon factions, are a little lackluster, but they're very unique in the way they play. There just isn't a lot of unit diversity yet. But in the other games, this has happened before. It's kind of lackluster on launch, but they usually do a very good job of fleshing out the factions, adding new factions, stuff like that. Oh, this guy's cheesing the shit out of this AI. He's basically using cavalry to bait them and let them chase.
Yeah, he's kiting them around.
Yeah.
Huh.
And the detail in the little fights themselves, like with the units, is so good.
That's always the coolest thing about any real-time strategy game is when you can zoom in close and see like your little miniatures battling it out.
Right, when you can see it. Like I like space games for that reason. Like when you zoom in on a space fight, you just see like classic sci-fi space battle.
Mm-hmm.
With each faction, they play differently. They all have their own unique mechanics for the overworld map, and they have unique units too. But like that's less noticeable in my opinion. Not entirely, but like if you're moving units, you usually have your cavalry, your infantry, your archers, stuff like that. So that's not as noticeable. But each of the faction has its own overworld mechanics. For instance, the demons have corruption, and like the longer you're in an area, the more your corruption spreads for your particular god, and that lets you do certain things. It causes revolts, stuff like that. But if you play like one of the human races, one of the human races or the mortal races is led by immortal dragon gods, or like immortal dragon people who can be like a little unit, like a little person, but they can transform into a dragon. And their whole thing is they guard this giant wall that protects from incursion from demons. And that's kind of your main thing in the game, is like defending this wall. The Russian kind of inspired faction, they have this whole thing with the court system. We're trying to build up reputation against another faction of your same like race. And so like there's a lot of uniqueness to the individual groups that you can play as. It's pretty cool.
I really want to play this game, but you pretty much have to have a good PC to be able to play this game, right? It just seems like it just takes so much power that it would just fry the average off-the-shelf computer.
I mean, you can play this on low settings, but it isn't optimized greatly yet. So there is a bit of that. But I don't know. I think you could run this on. What's nice about Warhammer games is they usually have that in mind, and like you can turn down the number of units per like unit that you have here. So like you can see that each unit has like 100 people, 40 people. You can turn that number down so that like there's only 20 people to save resources. You can obviously turn down graphical settings, stuff like that. So you can play these games on a lower end computer. Like there are ways around it.
The guy in the video just zoomed in real close to a unit, and they're really detailed.
Yes, they are. There is some reusing of assets, but I mean, it's not bad.
That's okay.
They're the same unit, right?
Yeah.
I expect them all to look the same.
Normally, like Total War, at least from my understanding, a lot of like the real world ones, it's typically about dominating, right? Vassalizing or spreading, kind of like Crusader Kings 3 to win. The Warhammer games typically have a secondary option, and this one, at some point during your game, rifts open to the various worlds of hell, and you have to go in and steal a demon soul. And there's a whole mechanics for that.
Okay.
And the goal is to collect all 4 demon souls because you can only ever get one per like portal opening, and it happens multiple times per game. And your goal is to get that before anyone else to win. And that requires sending your army in with your main leader and going through the various like challenges in those worlds and fighting eventually a boss in a tower defense-esque game mode. I think this might be it actually. What they're doing
Kind of
here
looks like it because the guy has sort of charged up this hill to take this gate and is now at the gate and building walls and stationing troops on the hill to fight off advancers.
Yeah, and you have to do this before everyone else like gets the demon souls. You can only like do one at a time. So yeah.
Okay, I just thought, is the Warhammer lore, does Warhammer and Warhammer 40K take place in the same universe? Or is it just the fantasy version and sci-fi version?
Apparently they inhabit like not the same universe, but the same continuity. Like it's like various universes in Marvel. Like they're separated by the warp. They don't like you can't the 40K can't like fly a ship over to the Warhammer world, but like they exist in the same
multiverse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just think like a Marvel multiverse.
Yeah.
Like
it's not like the Warhammer timeline eventually becomes the 40K timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But it's fun if you know what you're getting into. If you know this is something you want and something that you're going to stick with as DLC and stuff comes out, I recommend it.
The Smithing Brit has a really good he's known for, he calls them perfectly balanced.
Yes.
He perfectly balances Warhammer, and it's pretty hilarious. The man is a genius for finding bugs. I don't know how, not bugs, exploits. The man is a genius when it's finding exploits. And he exploits the hell out of this.
What's nice about these games is if you have trouble with like the micromanaging of the real-time strategy battles, for instance, one thing is if your army is significantly stronger, you can auto-resolve a battle. And that'll just be like, you win. You killed them, that's fine. And you can auto-resolve any battle, but like if you do that, it kind of like rules what will die and what won't. So like sometimes you could lose units that if you played it through, you could keep alive. That being said, you can actually set the difficulty so that if you're better at the overworld stuff, you can set that to normal. But if you want the battles in game to be easier, you can set a different difficulty for that. So like you can play the real time strategy stuff on easy, but like the overworld on normal, so that the game's not too hard and kind of adjust your experience to best suit you.
That's kind of nice. That's actually a really nice way of customizing a game for your skill and ability levels.
Yeah.
It gives more nuance than just easy, medium, hard.
Yeah.
And nightmare.
But yeah, that's Warhammer 3. I'm not making a strong suggestion of whether or not to get it. It's if you know you want it, get it, obviously. But I'd say probably wait if you're a little on the fence till there's more content and things are fixed.
Mm-hmm. We got Andy Pandy, who says a Ryzen 5, Intel 5, GTX 1060, AMD RX 560 XT recommends PC requirement.
I guess it's pretty hefty. Like
yeah,
really
that's a little more than just off the shelf PC.
Well, that's for like normal settings. Like again, you can pull back a lot of those settings and play it on like crappier.
Yeah.
I used to play Total War Shogun 2 on like a laptop for the first time, and I had the unit set to like the smallest. So there's like 10 soldiers in one unit and like really shitty graphics. So it looked like a PS2 game. Yeah. And it's still fun because like the same mechanic, like the gameplay loop is fun.
Nice. All right, so next game that we have, gentlemen, would be what?
I'll just speak about Ender Lilies real quick. Like I said before, I've finished the game, and now I'm just trying to get all of the endings to the game. I've spent the past week. Basically, I could have beat it anytime this week, but I spent my time going into every room and trying to 100% it, finding all the items, all the secrets. And that game remains like a really surprising, super high quality indie game. I think it's easily it's only February, but I've played a lot of games, and it's easily the best one I've played so far. They're really just coming out of nowhere. Yeah. To encapsulate what's really neat about it is I was playing the final boss, and I was using a spear, which had kind of become my default weapon because it does a lot of damage. But the spear only attacks horizontally. And the boss kind of spit out a bunch of little minions that fly around and shoot at you. So trying to get those with the spear means I kept having to jump up and perfectly align myself horizontally with them to take them out. And I did pretty well because I'm pretty high level, but I didn't finish it. He killed me. And so I switched out the spear spirit for a guy with a heavy mace who attacks much slower, but he does a really strong overhand attack that arcs upward. And just that change, and keeping like all the other strategies the same, I was able to like knock his little minions out of the sky with the heavy attack in a way that really rendered them ineffectual in the fight against me. And I beat the boss. I beat it like twice in a row using that tactic. And that encapsulates what I think is really cool about this game. The choice of spirits, basically your choice of loadout, really can change the nature of a fight and make one that is really difficult, really easy. And that prevents a game that is in a lot of ways really, really hard, really Souls-like hard in a lot of ways, to stop it from being frustrating. Because every time I die, it's not just a matter of, oh, get good. It's a matter of thinking, why did I die? How is this guy fighting me? How can I be more effective? And then changing my loadout and changing my tactics appropriately. And that just makes everything about the game so much more fun, so much more entertaining, so much less frustrating. And yeah, I've completely fallen in love with it.
Figuring out which tools is the best use for the situation.
Yeah. Like, there were some bosses I played that I ended up using spirits that I never used for the rest of the game because they were just really effective at that particular boss in that specific fight. Like, they were really useful. And yeah, the fact that the game gives you such a wide variety of spirits and the ability to have like 2 loadouts so that you can have like an A and a B and switch between them in the middle of a fight just makes everything so versatile and so dynamic that none of the fights get old. Yeah.
Here you go. There's all the spirits.
Yeah, last time I saw like this on when you were talking about it, it looks awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I still think it looks great.
I remember I bought it because I had seen like a random YouTube video that was like, hey, I played this Souls-like game called Underlitties and it was pretty good. And I saw it on sale one time and like picked it up. And sometimes buying a random game like that backfires, but other times you get truly pleasantly surprised. And this is one of the good times. Yeah, highly recommend Ender Lilies to anyone who thinks they might even be remotely interested. I've compared it a lot to Dark Souls because it is challenging in that way, but it is at its core a Metroidvania game. There's a lot of looking at the map, seeing rooms that you can't get into, then getting a new ability and going back to that map, finding secrets all through the map, hidden doors in levels, in rooms. So it's a wonderful mix of Souls-like, both in its challenge and in the way you're constantly unlocking shortcuts to make your traversal easier in the future, and Metroidvania in that you're constantly getting new maneuver ability options that change how you go through the level. And thankfully, unlike Death's Door, there is no huge difficulty spike in the end that would render a lot of your fun times with it, that would sully the memories of those good times. It's a challenging game and remains challenging throughout, but it gives you plenty of tools to rise to that challenge and overcome them, to the point that the final boss of the game is really not that tough.
All right, so let's talk Rainbow Six Extraction. Both you and I played the spillover event. So we've talked about Rainbow Six Extraction in the past. Solid game, solid, enjoyable, good multiplayer game. Even single player, it's not bad, but it really shines with multiplayer, especially if you have a friends group and you're not dealing with randos. But the spillover event, which is limited, I think it's going on for 12 more days or 10 more days now. It's a specific event that it's a 3-man multiplayer. You go into the event and you're challenged with, how many is it, 10 different pods. You don't have to really fight so much to get through the level as you have to with
like it's a big open level and there are little pods throughout that level, and basically each pod is an area that you have to defend, but you choose when that starts. So like you're looking at the whole level and you can look around and see like there are 20 pods all around you, and you're like, I want to defend that one over there because it's in a corner and it's easily defensible. So you go there, you can set your mines, set your turrets, prepare for defense, then activate the pod, and then you have to fight a couple waves of enemies. And when you succeed, you then move on to the next pod. And the way it's structured is you do 2 pods and you pass like phase 1. Then the next 3 pods are part of phase 2, and then the next 4 pods are part of phase 3. And so as you enter those phases, it gets harder and harder. And when I played with Chris, we were never able to get to we didn't complete all of the phases. We got to like phase 3 and then got rocked real bad and had to extract.
Yeah, the first time we played, I think I got to phase 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely techniques that come along with this. One of the techniques is in order to activate these particular areas and get the whole event started, you pick up these canisters and you have to plant the canister in that spot. You can see it there on the screen. Everybody can grab a canister, and the enemies, the Archaeans, will attack any canister, even if it's not planted. So you could throw a canister out and use it as bait to kind of make them hang out there for a second so that you can take care of them and you can kill them. It slows them down a little bit. There you go. There's one of the canisters. So yeah, it's all of the it is an unbelievable amount of points. Unbelievable amount of points. And it is high tension and picking your
No, we didn't actually play
No,
together.
we didn't play together.
Played separately.
Yeah.
I just
We weren't
immediately
available on the same days.
Picking your character is important. Picking the order in which you do the pods, because you can see by the symbol on those different areas what kinds of enemies you will be facing. So it behooves you that if you're in the easiest level in the first 2 levels, hit the elites. Do the elites first, regardless of where they're located, but do the elites first so that you can get those out of the way when they're going to be easiest, and then save the easier types of enemies for the last 4. But it's crazy fun, and even if you don't complete all 10 levels, you still get partial points as long as you extract, and a crazy amount of points. Hella fun.
Yeah, and there's each level of the game, even outside this mode, has like these mini challenges called, what was it, specialties or like research? Basically, little
research, right?
Mini challenges you have to complete in that level. This event comes with its own mini challenges, and one of them is just kill a bunch of enemies, and the reward you get for that is this automatic turret that is so extremely helpful, not just in this mode, but any mode going forward. So I would recommend anyone that's interested in this game, or anyone playing this game, play this mode just enough to unlock that turret, because it'll make the rest of the game a lot easier.
Yeah, 3 people working, and it's timed as well. On top of everything else, it's timed.
Oh yeah, so you have like 20 minutes to get these 10 pods.
All 10, right? So then you're up against the clock. There was one where we were pushing it, and we had 2.5 minutes left in the timer, and it takes 2 minutes for the pod to finish up its wave.
Oh.
And we almost made it. And it would have been fine, except when it blew up, I was standing on the pod and I ended up dying. I didn't realize that you could die by standing on the pod.
They should have just left you. Left you.
Yeah, no, well, once I went down, then everybody else went down. So it was so close, but it was hella fun. I recommend that if you've got a good core group of people, I would do this. If you're picking randos, maybe not. It's not the most inviting place in the world for stuff. The nice thing is that the sprawl doesn't slow you down from running on this level, which is refreshing. Yeah, refreshing.
I just want to say, like, in my head right now, because this looks fun as hell, it's just, you need to finish Dying Light. You need to finish Dying. That's all I'm saying in my head, because I'm like, this looks fun. I could buy this.
Do you know how close you are to finishing Dying Light?
I'm pretty close. I have like
what do we need to do to help you finish Dying Light?
Well,
so that you can play this with us.
Well, the issue is also Elden Ring, Warhammer 3, like
fair.
Like,
yeah. All right. I get it.
Because I mean, also it sucks because it sounds like you guys have like 3 people pretty regularly.
Not pretty regularly at all. Chris is a pilot, so he is gone. He's playing on Stadia, and he's usually on trips. Now, when he's on trips, he's playing in his hotel room, tethering it. That's a crazy thing. He tethers his Stadia using his phone, because most hotel Wi-Fi isn't good enough. So he uses his phone tethering on his tablet, and we talk over Discord.
The crazy thing is that
great.
like in his case, Stadia is absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
And the fact if they had kept it as like this niche thing, they could have really ruled that niche space, but they tried to make it into this big everyone should do this, and it doesn't work for that. But like in his case, it's absolutely perfect.
Yeah. And
this is a trap. I just want to say this right here is a trap.
So it is worth saying, both of us, we are playing it on Xbox because it's part of Game Pass. I think it's probably part of Game Pass Ultimate on PC too. If you are subscribed to that, you should be able to play it on PC as part of that subscription service.
It might be. I'm hopping on Xbox app right now and checking, but it makes sense if it is. I mean, it is a PC game as well, so. Also, Warhammer 3 is also on Game Pass.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yes. So if you want to play it and you have Game Pass, know that Warhammer 3 is on it.
Oh.
So yeah, you could try it on PC.
Download it. Yeah, just download it. Lower all of the
lower all the graphic resolutions to 0 so I can play it on my PC laptop. Yeah. Is right.
No, not that. I had an update for the Xbox app. That being said, I do want to point out something. Earlier when we were talking about Warhammer, AC Wraith said, and if I can find it, that the recommendation, like this hardware that's recommended for it, like the 1060 Ryzen 5 Intel 5, is kind of old hardware, and I would agree. If right now getting new hardware didn't suck complete ass. Like if it wasn't so hard to get even a 1070, a 1080, like a 5-year-old card, if it wasn't like twice as much as it is MSRP right now, or more when it first came out, I'd agree. I'd be like, yeah, that's not bad. Upgrade your system if you can. But even the budget cards are incredibly expensive, which sucks. So
at this point, it might just be worth it to buy a Steam Deck and attach it to a monitor.
Assuming you can find a Steam Deck.
I mean, is it any harder than finding a graphics card at an affordable price? Really? Like,
no, I mean, those don't exist. Finding a graphics card at an affordable price does not exist. Yeah, you can't do that.
You're gonna fight for these things no matter what. It's just which fight do you want to take on?
Right. So next game we can talk about is Crusader Kings Royal Court. We've talked about this in great detail. I just crossed over. You know what? Let me launch to see on Steam how many hours I have.
Also, I think it's funny. I typed in Steam Deck, all one word, into Google, and it said, "Oh, did you mean Stream Deck?" And it's showing me search results for the Elgato Stream Deck.
So I'm loading up my Valve right now, or Steam right now, and it's of course taking a long time. I noticed when I went on yesterday, and I played all day yesterday, that I was at 298 hours. Yeah, it won't pull up. It's chugging, and I don't want to break everything, so I'm just gonna quit. Yeah, I'm well over 300 hours in the game total. I would say I'm a good 60 hours into Royal Court. Still great. You know, I'm now so freaking powerful, so unbelievably powerful right now. And it's usually when you get to the point where nothing phases you, when you get so powerful that you could just mow over everybody. Like you don't even need allies because you have more soldiers than most world powers like combined have. It becomes boring. Like
That's
you
a
can
win
just mow.
condition. Like
Right.
for me, like
Right.
that's if you want to finish the game, you can, but you know that you've won.
Right.
Like
You know
nothing
you
will
won.
happen.
Right. That's not the case with this. You still are challenged by all the other aspects because it's when you think about being a king, like, oh, just, kill everybody. That's not how politics works, and certainly not middle-age politics and medieval age politics. It's still just as challenging to get done what you need to get done in a single lifetime, because when your player, your king or emperor dies, you have to play your son. The son has entirely different stats, entirely different perks, relationships entirely different. Everybody, all your vassals in your massive country hate you as soon as you come to power. And you have to spend a good chunk of your early life keeping everybody happy. And of course, bigger empire, more vassals, more people you have to actually talk to and sway and make your friend to keep them from rising up and taking you over and killing you and making you like a little, a mayor of some town somewhere, or exiling you completely, and you're now wandering and unlanded. You're always on the tip of the sword and can absolutely be toppled at any minute. So it says a lot for this game, and I'm not going to pull up the video because you've all seen it. It's a big map, but it is amazing that even in the end game stage, how it is still challenging to do what you want to do. I'm trying at this point to we talked about it earlier, unite the Slavs, which is a huge chunk of Slavic Northern Europe and Russia. And it's still challenging. You can't just walk in and say, I declare war on you. You actually have to have a reason to declare war on somebody. And they may have allies that they could bring them all in, which makes it more complicated. And if you've just had a war with somebody else, your soldiers are not back from the front lines of the former war. So you have to wait 7 months. Meanwhile, as soon as you activate your troops, any dangerous factions within your own empire may rise up because you've got all your 70,000 soldiers committed to the Middle East, and then they know you can't get your soldiers back, so that's when they rise up, and then you have to buy mercenaries or you have to use your allies, and then the Pope will say in 12 months we're having a holy war, which you have to participate, which you don't have to, but you really should participate in. So it's like, I gotta clean this all up and get everything settled down so I can deploy to a holy war in Syria so that Poland doesn't revolt and declare independence. It's still
I like how you bring up a holy war like it's some type of bash that they're throwing on the weekend. Like, yeah, holy war, guys, let's go have some fun.
Go do it, man! Holy war. Yeah, no, actually, holy wars are really good for you if you can get involved with them, because you can name your
fantastic social events.
Here, you can name your beneficiary, and if you are the top contributor to a victory in a holy war, then your beneficiary is named as the new king of this land that they have conquered. And one of the achievements that you can do, along with uniting the Slavs and remaking the Holy Roman Empire, et cetera, founding a university is another one, but one of them is a dynasty of many kings, which means you have to have multiple kings in your dynasty. And when you do that, if you've got all those kings and they're all members of your house and you've got that certain level of number, then you can actually declare dynasty of many kings, and you get all these perks and rewards that follow all subsequent rulers in your line. Everybody in your line kind of gets that. So it's super challenging, even in its end stage. it's just differently challenged as opposed to when you're just starting and you're trying to build stuff up. So a game that can easily eat your life, and a game that you can play no matter how high up, how powerful you are, you will be playing it. You could conceivably play it for years. So yeah, at least until you reach the end of the calendar. I forget when it officially ends, the calendar ends, but I'm in the 1300s now. So yeah, and then the royal court just makes it more interesting. I noticed that dynamics are a little bit different between you and your vassals in royal court, that the vassals will rise up and revolt much easier. And it's harder to, well, I shouldn't say not harder, but it is more time consuming to appease them. Before, if they were rising up, you just throw cash at them and they would be like, okay, we'll go home. Bye-bye. And now you can't just throw money at them. They'll be like, thank you for the money. It will support our war effort for independence from you. So it's a now you actually have to befriend them. So you've got to make friends. And then, of course, as you're going through all these hundreds of vassals that you have, one of your friends dies, and that gives you stress. And then you try not to have a stroke because you're stressed out. And literally that happens. You can have so much stress that your ruler, your player character, strokes out. And then you're playing, if he doesn't have a grown-up, you're playing a 6-year-old child. And your 6-year-old child can't make friends. He can't do other stuff. It's because he's not a grown-up. It's all bad. Then he can't befriend some duke to keep that duke from going independent. It is such a interesting, and it's time consuming and time sucking, and it's I love it. I'm loving every minute of it still. So
Cool.
yeah. So let's see what else we got. What is playing? I'm seeing RimWorld. I'm seeing Dying Light 2.
Yeah, I guess I could talk about Dying Light 2 real quick. So last time I was on the show, which was like 2 weeks ago, I was talking about how I spent a very long time in the first area, and I finally got to the next area, and I've really played through it a lot now. And I mentioned last time that if you do pick up this game, if you do play it, there will be an urge to kind of like run around in the first area, go do side quests and stuff like that. But you really should be moving on from that first area. Like, when you get to the second area, the game, it picks up in the parkour in a way that like the first area doesn't. The first area is very like 1-2 story buildings. The second area is like an inner city with like giant skyscrapers. And it really changes like the amount of fun and stuff you can do in the game. And I feel like that's important. I do want to say that like moving, running, and just getting around is a lot of fun. The combat is also fun, but not quite as good as like the parkour. That being said, the story is kind of forgettable.
Yeah, it's Dying Light. Really don't play it for the story.
No, not at all.
I liked the story in the first one. I thought it was really good.
I mean, it was okay. This one is just kind of like I said, super forgettable for the most part. Like, nothing happens in it that's crazy or really interesting or unique. It's your standard like zombie fare for the most part. You're looking for somebody. Humans are the evil people. Zombies are just kind of there. And there's this whole choice system in it. And there is some repercussions to that choice system, but it's more like during gameplay. Apparently, spoilers, there's 5 endings, but they're all kind of the same. Not entirely the same, but like close. So the choice, if you're going to have a choice system, I'm of the mind that like that should reflect how the game ends. Like, that's the most important part about the choices in a game. not necessarily how the world changes while you're playing it. Like, if you make decisions, it should really affect where the story goes at the end, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And that, spoilers, but yes, the choices don't necessarily affect the ending as much as I would have liked. I haven't beaten it, but I know I watched my friend beat it. So I kind of know what happens on the last mission. I just have to get there. But overall, like running the gameplay loop, like it's all very fun. And know that if you get the game, that's what you're getting it for, not necessarily the big cinematic story that they're advertising.
Okay, because I remember I actually found an article I wrote about Dying Light 1 way back when it first came out in 2015. And I really liked the game and the story specifically because it wasn't a zombie story. It was like the story of you, like a mercenary with a heart of gold, where like you were thrown into this foreign country to try to stop this terrorist from doing a thing, and then you fall in with these rebels and realize, oh, I'm going to ally with them to take down this other guy. And the zombies were like the hostile wildlife in Far Cry. It was like Far Cry, but with zombies instead of tigers.
Mhm.
And I thought that was really cool. Like it was just a different type of zombie story. Is it the same here, or like is the story outside of the zombies like any interesting at all?
It's serviceable. Like, it's a story that feels very much like it's getting you from point A to point B.
Hmm.
To me, but it's still more about like the human side of stuff. Very
Okay.
little like do zombies come up as the main crux of the story. In fact, like almost all of the story is you dealing with an enemy faction of humans, not necessarily like you dealing with zombies.
Okay.
They are
So
just
I
more
do
like,
kind of like it. Does sound like it's zombies are just the wildlife of this area.
yeah, you just deal with the fact that they're zombies now. Like
Hmm.
that's it. They are a challenge to overcome or an obstacle to get around. They are not like, you're not really trying to find the cure or fix this because
Mhm.
it's been 15 years. There is no real fixing this. But yeah.
Holy shit, AC Wraith. He he found that old article I wrote. Granted, I
Nice.
guess I found it pretty quickly too, but damn.
Yeah, but you wrote it. uh Overall, I think it's a solid game. It's really fun to just run around and play, and that's the hardest part about this game. Is like I'm like, finish the storyline, go to the storyline. Ooh, piece of candy. Like, let me parkour my way over to get this like thing, or like to see this new thing, and I get distracted like a kid with ADHD. That's the hardest part about this game.
Yeah, open world game. That's what they do.
But yeah, if you back up a little, Edie, you can kind of see how like tall this game gets, like how much verticality there is in the new area. And I don't know where it went now. It's gone. Edie had stopped it perfectly at the top of like
Oh,
the
there you go.
a little bit back. Oh well, it's not that important. But you can get incredibly high in the game.
I'll just say the difficulty is Edie's looking at a 13-hour video, so every time she moves the cursor a millimeter, it jumps ahead like 30 minutes.
Yes.
Wait,
Okay.
Anyway, sorry. I lost it.
Yes, like you go to the highest point in the game at one point, and it's generally nauseating how high you are. Like, it's pretty awesome.
cool. I am looking forward to playing that eventually. Because I
Once again,
really loved the first one. But again, it's been a busy month.
I think it lost some of the vibe of the first one. The first one really had like this gritty, down to earth atmosphere, and this one is more not fantasy but fantastical.
I've heard that in general it feels more gamey.
Yes, and that's how I describe it.
Mhm.
I mentioned this before, and I still hold this as true. It is like somebody was like explaining what made Dying Light 1 great, like zombies, parkour, running around a city, and somebody they told somebody this and they tried to recreate it. And they did a very good job of trying to recreate it, but in the process it lost its soul that like you ended up loving about the first one. Like a lot of tiny details that like makes that other one a classic to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. You had mentioned before, like how the swinging feels different, and that absolutely feels like one of those details that they made it more gamey, but in doing so, took away some of that visceral,
Exactly.
brutal action that made the first one so compelling.
One of the primary examples of this, and apparently they said they're going to fix this later and kind of adjust it, is when you kick somebody off of an edge of like a building or into spikes. In the first game, they'd ragdoll right away. And this one, they kind of Looney Tunes like stumble into the air and then realize they're in the air and then fall. Like you kick somebody in spikes, they just kind of bounce against it and fall over as an insta kill thing. Whereas in the other one, they'd like stick in 3 different points into the spikes. Like that level of detail and grittiness isn't as present. Also, like they changed the lighting and like a lot of the graphical stuff, and that changes the mood and atmosphere of the game. Everything's way more bright and less horror. Which, I mean, that might be intentional because it is 15 years of living in this like world. Some of that horror would go away if this is what you grew up in. I think your dog.
I feel so bad for her. She sounds so.
She's been banging on the potty bells. We have bells hanging from a door back there that I've trained her to use to if she wants to go out. And sometimes she needs to potty. Sometimes she just wants to go out. So I'm going to take her out just to see what happens.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She sounds like she really wants to go out.
Yeah, no, she really wants attention is what she wants. So I will let you continue talking about Dying Light. Andrew, you can run the graphics while I'm gone. I'll be right back.
Well, unfortunately, I'm pretty much done with Dying Light.
It's funny. I was just looking at a video of Dying Light 1, and other than like the verticality, it looks so similar. I mean, like graphically, well, like, hey, this game still looks really, really good graphically. Although, okay, now that I look at it, this video is 4K 60 FPS PC Ultra, so that might have something to do with it.
But I mean, even then, it's 7 years. I think it's because it's a stylistic choice overall with the graphics, and not necessarily like something that's, I don't know, like different about it. If that makes sense. It's kind of like a Borderlands thing, right? It has a very distinct look. And Borderlands 3, while technically more impressive, looks very similar to Borderlands 2, and that came out from the part. The graphics overall, though, I mean, it's better texturing, better shadowing, stuff like that. Like the stuff that makes small details great is better in Dying Light 2 for sure.
Yeah. Now I found a video of like GameSpot doing some playthroughs of it, and yeah, it still looks great, but it looks like sure.
Hopefully, we won't get
oh right. I need to
GameSpot. Fair use. We're using your hard work to help us.
Yes. Hey, it's their like 7-year-old hard work.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, mostly it just seems like a texturing thing, right?
Yeah, you can definitely see it like when he's walking through the day. It just kind of looks, yeah, there's slightly flatter textures, but you have to actually be really looking for it to see it. I think when you're in the middle of playing it, it's like, oh wow, this still looks really cool.
Yeah, and I also think there's more variety to like the actual zombies and stuff. At least they purported to. In Dying Light 2. This is a little choppy. But no, I'm sure Dying Light 1 is still incredibly fun. They did say apparently there's a 5-year roadmap for Dying Light 2 where they're going to roll out content for 5 years.
I remember there was an update to Dying Light that came out when the sequel did. So they updated that game and kept with it. I believe them when they say there's a 5-year roadmap.
Dying Light 2 just kept coming out with shit. They came out with something called Hell Raid, which is where you go into demon portals, and it's a whole different mini game inside of the Dying Light game.
Oh,
so,
really?
Like, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I played the DLC, The Following, which came out a good 2-3 years after the game did, and it was a really great piece of DLC.
Yeah, no, they also came out with like free DLC, like I was saying, Hell Raid, where it's
there we go. Finally found the verticality.
Yeah. Like that whole city that you're seeing is explorable. You can go to all those points. I mean, it's an open world game, which is pretty standard in that way, but just you get really high and it's pretty awesome. Like you don't get any of this in the first area, which is why I think it's important to move on to the second area relatively quickly. Like enjoy yourself, but don't linger.
You know, it's funny. I've heard that about Horizon as well. And I feel like that's the new sin of most open world games is that the tutorial area is too big.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. It's meant to be like a microcosm of what you're going to be doing. But if you put too many quests, too many collectibles and stuff, and there's too many distractions, you're going to stay there for too long. And that's going to prevent you from getting to the more fun stuff that the game can offer. Like, once you get to here, you get the paraglider right away. And that opens up the game and movement in a way that, like, is very much missing. And you can go back to the first area and enjoy that. But if you don't know that exists, if you don't know that's what you're getting, you'll linger too long. No, you can't enter all the buildings, but there is a lot of open space and places that you can get into in the buildings, which is kind of surprising. Like, it's more surprising than I thought it would be. You don't really notice it all that much. Like, I don't know. It's done in a way that you're not really missing the chance to actually go inside certain buildings.
Like, you can go inside the buildings you want to go into, and the ones that you wouldn't think to go into, you can't. And so it makes sense.
Also, when you're climbing buildings, there's enough, like, interior spaces and, like, broken out windows. Like, as he was climbing this building, there was just a random chest inside this, like, small area inside the building. I don't know if it's a mental trick, but it's kind of like, okay, that's enough of like the feeling that I can get into this building, if that makes sense.
I also feel like that's a good idea. You know, you have a big skyscraper you're climbing up. There's one room that you can get into, like as you're climbing, because like going through a broken window, get into one room, but that's it. But like having that one room gives you the illusion of like the whole thing is traversable.
Yeah. And it's something that I haven't really considered, but yeah. And there's a lot of instances where you can run through like a floor of a building, right? So again, it gives that sense that like, oh, this is a full building, even though you can't get into like 90% of it. It's very smart.
Oh, Jesus. Watching this guy climb, doing a platforming challenge, climbing an antenna array on top of a skyscraper on the edge. So it's like, if you miss this jump, you're falling.
And I don't know if he has enough. Yeah.
This is the kind of platforming stuff I really, really enjoy. This looks fantastic. I really want to do this.
And this is the kind of stuff that is really fun, right? Like, this is stuff that is incredibly enjoyable. So if this is what you're after, definitely get it.
Cool.
yeah, as you can see, like him just looking around. This isn't even the tallest building, and it just you're so high up. But yeah, Dying Light 2. Get it if you like parkour. If you don't like parkour, don't get it. You think that'd be obvious, but I had a friend who was like, I really want Dying Light 2. They bought it, and they're like, I don't really like parkour in general. And so
Yeah.
I'm not really having fun with it, and I just wanted to shake them. Except this game. Parkour is this game.
Cool. I feel like that's a good segue to a news item.
Well, and let's and you don't want to talk about RimWorld?
You play potato people, and it's eating my life away.
Okay.
It's fine.
All right, then. Well, then we might as well hit the news. This is the GameHounds news, the news, views, and commentary of the week in gaming with Gamer Eating, Nick DiLcola, and Andrew Smith.
Oh, wow, I was a little worried you're going to say goalie there.
It's a hard habit to break. So our first item is
the PlayStation Plus games for March were announced, and they include Ghost of Tsushima Legends, which was the multiplayer add-on for Ghost of Tsushima. It's sort of being spun off into its own downloadable thing that you can now, at least for the month, you'll be able to download for free, which is really cool.
Legends is hella fun. In
Yes.
fact, this being a free game this month makes me very happy because it means more people will be playing it because they will be downloading it since it's a free game. But also, it reminded me that I want to go back and play it some more.
The Rivals is a lot of fun.
Yeah, those Rivals. Then there was a whole like 2-player co-op mode that we didn't do much of. I played a little bit of it.
No, we didn't. And a lot of people, and it was good. It just, I never had just 2 people to play it. If we had 3 people, we were going to play the main game.
Yeah.
Well, the 2 people one is the Rivals, I think. It is the one where you fight against 2 other people, but you don't actually like fight them. You
no, I don't know that one. There's like a co-op mode where you and another player went through like very specific challenges.
Yeah.
And then there was a wave-based survival mode. Are you saying there was also a 2v2 mode that they added?
Yes, so I remember what you're talking about. There is a like co-op story mode thing where you do like slices of like a campaign mode where you go through and you do objectives. There is the wave mode that you described, which is the 4-person like co-op survival, where you kind of go to different points and hold points. There is the raids, which are gigantic, like
I don't think we ever got to do those.
Yeah, we never did those. We left before they
them, but I don't think we ever finished one because they are long and they can be quite challenging. And then there is the 2v2 Rivals mode where you start off like this and you can bow to your enemies. You actually get points for doing that, and then you both rush to complete objectives as they spawn. You have to get these little like souls that enemies drop, and then you use those souls to put obstructions for the other people. For instance, you can spawn like a really hard enemy that'll prevent them from using their souls till they beat it. You can start.
Oh, that's awful. So you can sabotage the other team.
Yeah, and if they die, they lose the souls they are carrying because you can carry up to 15 at a time, and they'll have to start over killing people to get those souls back. And so yeah, you go around trying to kill as many people and get as many souls as possible, and then once you get 65 in this case, you will begin like a point defense thing, and you have to clear out like the enemies that are charging you before they do 3 times and win. But if you die, you have to start that wave over again on the point. So like while you're fighting this, you can send like a volley of fire arrows to fight them. You can cut their health in half. You can make their they lose health over time, stuff like that. And it's quite fun. Me and Jay the Game Guru, played it quite a bit. So it is a versus mode, but it's not like you're actually fighting somebody else. As you can see, like here, all these shrines.
So yeah, that's one of the games. It's going to be free in March. If you're a member of PlayStation Plus, then the segue that then got distracted by talking about how cool Ghost of Tsushima was is Ghost Runner. That was the cyberpunk first-person platforming game that I played a while ago. Really high praise for it, like some of the best first-person platforming outside of Mirror's Edge and Dying Light. Unfortunately, there is a huge difficulty spike in the end in the platforming challenges that prevented me from beating it because it was just like overly difficult in a way that I found highly frustrating. But the other, 95% of the game was super cool, super fun. Imagine a first-person cyberpunk Super Meat Boy.
Oh, I remember you playing this. Oh, and didn't you hate the end?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
there's
a
a huge
thing.
difficulty spike.
Yeah. I couldn't remember what it was that you hated about it.
Only the end though. So like for a, game that you get as part of a subscription service, it's absolutely worth jumping into, playing for a bit.
Get
Just
it? Jumping into parkour.
Oh, yep, huh. I meant that. I meant that. That was my pun. Yeah, I did that
Yeah,
on
totally.
purpose. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, jump into it. It's a cool game. But then in addition to that, you'll get Ark Survival Evolved, Team Sonic Racing. And that's it. And then you get Ghost Runner for PS5 and Ghost of Tsushima Legends for PS4 and PS5.
Good deal. And since that we're mentioning that, we might as well springboard off that to Xbox free games. Xbox free games this month, Games with Gold. It's also available to Game Pass Ultimate subscribers is Flame in the Flood. That's available March through 1st through 31st. That's about a girl and her dog going on a trip by both on a raft and on foot through the backwaters of post-societal America. So more zombie apocalypses.
Not zombies.
Not zombies, but apocalypse.
Zombies. Yeah.
Yeah, March 16th to April 15th is Super Power Soccer. It's a, soccer game, but it's kind of the Burnout extreme of soccer games.
It's is it Shaolin Soccer, the video game?
No, it's not Shaolin. It is Shaolin Soccer, the video game.
And listen, here's the sad thing. It's the only soccer game you're going to be playing if you don't want to play FIFA. So, just take it.
That's kind of
true. And then March 1st and March 15th is going to be Sacred 2 Fallen Angel, which is the RPG sequel, prequel to Sacred, the original Sacred, 2,000 years before the events of Sacred. So yeah.
Andy Pandy. The parkour in Dying Light 2 is substantially easier than anything that you do in Ghost Runner. So if you like parkour to begin with, don't be turned off by something like Ghost Runner. It's the same thing.
I've not played Dying Light 2, but Ghost Runner was a game designed around platforming challenges. It was about combat platforming challenges. That's why I compare it to Super Meat Boy in that way, because it was about playing through this room over and over again, trying to get your jumps just perfect and your aim just perfect to progress to the next room. Whereas Dying Light 2 seems like it's more about parkour has a
traversal method.
And to have fun getting around by jumping from rooftop to rooftop. It wasn't about this, brutal difficulty platforming challenge.
And thank you, AC Wraith. It is Street Power Soccer, not Super Power Soccer. My bad. And but there's a fourth game, by the way, that's available on March 16th. SpongeBob's Truth or Square.
Oh, that is the best. Why do you bury the lead? That's the best game.
The SpongeBob loses and Mr. Krabby loses the Krabby Patty secret formula.
That's a big thing in the SpongeBob lore.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. So yeah, those are your free games for March. So let's see. My first item is the big news is Ukraine has been invaded by Russia and is
listen, the games with gold and PlayStation Plus is far more
Yes, yes.
important.
Come on. The world is talking about games with gold and PS
Yes.
Plus.
Yeah, and regardless of where you fall on this, if you fall outside of Russia, you're wrong. But games, I mean, Ukrainian developers, there are Ukrainian developers and a lot of game developers
Mhm.
that have workers in the Ukraine that are in places like Kiev. And so they're having, this is affecting games. For example, GSC Game World, they made Stalker 2. And they're about to release, supposedly, Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl later on this year. They're headquartered in Kiev. So many of their workers are attempting to either flee the city or trying to figure out if they can stay and keep working. Or if they want to get out and seek refuge somewhere in the West or Europe somewhere. Fortunately, many borders are open to refugees from Ukraine. Romania being a huge one, they are taking so many people, and they're taking them sight unseen, which is great. But it's not the only Ukrainian game developer. Metro Studio 4A Games was based in the country just until fairly recently when they moved their headquarters to Malta, but a lot of their developers live in the Ukraine and are either fleeing or bunkering down and trying to stay. Ubisoft and Wargaming both have studios in the Ukraine. So the game development scene in the Ukraine is vibrant and has been growing, though, because of course, CD Projekt Red is in neighboring Poland. I'm sure they have some of their developers that are in the Ukraine, that even though they're headquartered in Poland, their workers are in the Ukraine. So there has been an outpouring of support from game studios both in and out of the Ukraine. Well, in the Ukraine, they're needing support. Outside of the Ukraine, a lot of studios are lending support to the Ukrainian people and to the people that are not only there in Kiev or in Ukraine staying, but also running for their lives and leaving their lives behind because their country is about to be slaughtered. This War of Mine developer, 11-Bit Studios, by the way, this War of Mine all of a sudden seems so much more prescient if you have not played this game. But 11-Bit Studios is donating all proceeds from the sale of this game over the next week to the Ukrainian Red Cross. And they're calling for players, quote unquote, players and developers together to do everything that they can to support the victims of the war in the Ukraine. GSC World, who's in Kiev, has called on the gaming industry at large, including players, to donate to a fund to help the Ukrainian armed forces, stating that through pain, death, war, fear, and inhuman cruelty, Ukraine will persevere. It always does. CD Projekt Red, which is in Poland, which is right next door to the Ukraine, called on the gaming industry. They pledged to donate $1 million Polish. I forget what the Polish currency is. But they are donating about $240,000 US dollars to the Polish humanitarian group Polska Akcja Humanitaryna. And it is a humanitarian organization in Poland that is assisting Ukrainians. And they're going to be donating the profits from the sale of games like this War of Mine that they have on their platform, and also Slipways to charities chosen by each of those developers. Bungie has pledged to donate 100% of its proceeds for the first 48 hours of its games to give charity drive to humanitarian aid organizations. and they've stated that developers at studios, quote, hearts are with our friends and families affected by the events in Ukraine. Players that donate certain amounts can unlock emblems, emotes, and even a ship in Destiny 2. And if you are looking for ways to help, there are a number of different organizations that are helping the Ukrainian people, most of whom are not developers, but a lot of them who are connected to the game industry, including the Ukrainian Red Cross and UNICEF. Because there's two things going on. One, there are the people in the Ukraine who are there. And then there is the humanitarian shit show of people running for their lives and leaving their families and going anywhere but Ukraine right now to save themselves. So it's creating a refugee disaster that Europe is completely unprepared to handle the magnitude of this. So yeah, that's our what's going on with Ukraine. And if you want to help, please feel free to help in any way that you can, because this has potential of being really bad. Not just for gaming, but for people and possibly the world at large. There you go. That's my first big news of the day. Anybody want to talk about Call of Duty?
Yeah. Speaking of war, let's talk about Call of Duty.
That is a terrible, awful segue. I disown that segue right now.
No, that's a perfect
Speaking
segue.
of war, there won't be one in 2023.
The only war in 2023 is going to be in the Ukraine, not going to be with Activision.
It's not going to be in your home. Yeah, so there's reports that there's not going to be a mainline Call of Duty game in 2023. Which, when you think about that, they've consistently put out a yearly entry for like the past 15 years. It's really,
since 2005.
really shocking. This, I don't know if this is like due to the Activision purchase or if it's due to Vanguard not performing to what they expect, or any number of things that have been going on with Activision Blizzard lately.
It's probably a little bit of all of it. Although Vanguard not performing well probably had, I don't want to say the most significant, but is a big part of it.
So, yeah, they won't be putting out another one. And
did you know that Vanguard sales were down 40% compared to 2020's Call of Duty?
No, I didn't.
40%. That's a big number. That's a way of saying, hey, we're doing it wrong. Maybe we need to figure this out. But the fact that they're being sold, why would they put any effort into reviving or revamping the Call of Duty formula when they're not going to be owning it in a short period of time? So why do the work? They're not going to get money off of it.
The developers are still going to be working on it. It's right. These games get planned so far in advance that I'm sure they're already thinking about, the Call of Duty game that will come out in 2024.
It's kind of like when you have sold your car already and you got it for that last weekend and you ask yourself, do I really need to get it washed?
I don't know. I mean, I just think Vanguard hit such lows that they're kind of rethinking their strategy. That's literally it.
Right. If Vanguard had done well, they would probably release one.
Oh yeah,
true. But the fact that they didn't do well, they have to spend a bunch of money and time figuring out what they did wrong and how to fix it. And then if they spend that money, they're not even going to own the studio by the time that it actually comes out. So why bother?
Well, I mean, they have contracts. I assume they have to fulfill. So
yeah.
It's probably cheaper for them to pay them off and not do it.
Chris, talk about
Chris Salazar in the chat says that they'll basically avoid. They need to find a way to not make a game that has Russia or China as the enemy.
There may be that too. There may be that too.
Someone don't realize. Oh wait, we have Russia is like our enemy. Maybe we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, that might be bad. Might look bad.
We're gonna go back to a classic and have very generic terrorists in a desert country. That'll be the next Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Did
It's
you
going to
guys
be zombies. That's what it's going to be. Call of Duty zombies.
last week? Did you guys happen to talk about the fact that Microsoft went into talks about buying Activision Blizzard literally 3 days after, like,
Yeah.
I would have, like, I'm not surprised. I just didn't know if you guys talked about it last week.
Yes,
Like,
we did. In fact, something else that I read this week since then was that it wasn't just Microsoft approaching them after 3 days. That they were, as soon as their stock tanked, they were getting calls from a lot of companies that wanted parts of Activision. Like they
Oh, yeah.
wanted this and that. They wanted, a la carte. And
Mhm.
it was like we could, but it's going to be complicated. The people that were there were like, we don't really want to take we don't want to take your crap that you started, but we'll take Blizzard off your hands, or we'll take something else off your hands. And they were like, we'll think about it. And then Microsoft moved in and it's like, we'll take everything. We'll take it all.
Well, that's one of the reasons Microsoft pulled the trigger, is because they had competing buyers.
Right.
This is an instance of like a company throwing. This is why, as a company, you don't want your stock to tank, because suddenly I feel like this was as close to a hostile takeover that Microsoft could have gotten for this. Like, this was a hostile takeover. They just knew that they didn't have a choice, so they got the most out of it as they could.
Mm-hmm.
Because
this was a lay down your arms and just be
there were
vassalized.
reports too that like Bobby Kotick didn't want to sell, but the board did.
Right. Which is surprising, because the board is all of his bros, and the board pretty much does whatever Bobby says. And in this case, the board was like, yeah, no, Bobby, we're out.
Well, it just goes to show that friendship has nothing on money.
Yeah. Now, that being said, there's not going to be a Call of Duty full game, but there is going to be a Call of Duty free to play game.
I think Warzone 2 is coming out this year, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Of course, that's going to keep being updated.
Yeah, and it's Treyarch that's going to be doing it. So it's a free to play entry that is not the full Call of Duty experience, but it's going to have the Call of Duty name on it. So there's going to be a Call of Duty, just not the Call of Duty we're used to.
Yeah. It's going to be the Call of Duty that's still popular.
It's going to be anything. Just fill the hole. Fill the hole. So, yeah. Let's see. What else we got? Anybody else got something?
Yeah, I guess speaking of buying companies.
Oh, no. Let's move on to Andrews.
Yeah.
Since we're on the topic of Activision.
So there was the DICE Awards, which is like the biggest gaming awards kind of the year. And one of the hosts very eloquently put, fuck Bobby Kotick.
He actually said it intentionally, or was it just caught on mic?
Intentionally. He said it on
stage.
Like,
that was his opening speech, wasn't it? That was his opening monologue.
Yeah.
Really?
And the crowd cheered. Like, this comes off the heels of like last year. Greg Miller, I think. It's been a minute since I read this. They were really criticized for kind of going over, like, kind of lightly treating all of the sexual harassment stuff that was coming out last year.
Yeah. Oh, that was
criticized.
Jeff Keighley. Jeff Keighley in the Game Awards.
Yeah. And so this time they opened up and they were just like, fuck Bobby Kotick. Like,
so
on stage.
Who was the one that said that?
Greg Miller was the one hosting DICE who said fuck Bobby Kotick. And
I don't see Greg.
Jeff Keighley was the one who kind of stepped lightly around it.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find if I can pull it up. Keep going.
Was it not Greg Miller? I thought Greg Miller did host. Yeah, it is Greg Miller. AC Wraith had a link to a Kotaku article. Thank you, AC Wraith.
Yes.
Yeah, Greg Miller from Kind of Funny hosted the Dice Awards.
I think we discussed this actually last year when they had the awards, that it was like just really light-handed and cheap, like when they spoke about the sexual harassment stuff. It was basically like, in these tough times, we need to
I
stand
thought that
together.
was with the Game Awards, not the Dice.
It may have been. But yeah, like in front of everyone, he said it, like, and you know what? That's the kind of energy we need in the world. Like, people need to call him out, even if it's not necessarily appropriate.
And everyone cheered, and he even said that, like, when he got off stage, everyone was like, "Yeah, good. You said what everyone wanted to say." No one is giving him a hard time about it because, look, everyone agrees. No one likes Bobby Kotick. Even the people that work with him all bet fucking hate him, because how can you not?
Yeah.
So IGN, I'm looking at IGN's 2022 live stream, and they have eliminated the opening monologue. They start their stream recording the stuff, what they put up on YouTube, at Todd Howard coming out.
No, I think Todd Howard is first.
Oh, he is? All right.
Yeah.
So let's see. So we go past Todd Howard, and it's pretty
much right after Todd Howard.
Let's see.
Yeah, AC Ray says he's been a fan of Greg Miller for a while, and he is. He's a really good host of things.
Right. Well, you can keep going, and then I'll find this.
Okay.
So that I can play it for you guys.
All right. So, do you want to move on to the next story?
Yep. Move on to the next story.
Sure. Then in business acquisition news, Nintendo has jumped into the fray and has acquired SRD, which is a company no one has probably heard of, because it's a company Nintendo has been working with for years already. That basically they help on games. They help on things like Breath of the Wild and Animal Crossing in most recently. And this Engadget article that I'm reading from has specifically mentioned it's surprising that Nintendo didn't own SRD already, because they've done a lot of work with them closely over the years, as just like a subsidiary, and they finally made it official and just bought them. So nothing, we don't know the price, and it's nothing on the level of Activision Blizzard or Bungie. It's Nintendo acquiring a company in the way that Nintendo would, in that we've been working with you for like the past 5 years. Let's just make it official. You know, we've been dating for so long. Let's just make it official.
I don't know. It's good. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard Nintendo buying any studios for a long time.
They had actually bought again from this Engadget article. They bought Next Level Games in January of 2021, and that's actually the studio that made Luigi's Mansion.
Oh.
So again, it's Nintendo buying companies that you haven't heard of because they develop games that just come out as Nintendo games, right? These developers just make Nintendo games. It's not like them buying Bungie or buying someone who would make a different type of game.
Gotcha. Basically, just folding them in.
Yeah, folding in people that already fit with the company.
That makes sense. It's very on brand for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Nice. You know, Nintendo had to acquire somebody after like Sony. It's weird because Microsoft acquires Blizzard, like the huge purchase. The Nintendo or Sony's like, well, we gotta come up with something. So they buy Bungie, and then Nintendo's like, oh, okay, well, I guess we have to do something now too, right? And then they get like the next step down.
Yeah. That's of course how it goes.
Of course. Yeah. Good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't find it. I'm having to watch the whole monologue and I can't find it. I'm trying to fast forward through it. Just doing a bad job. So anyway, yeah, go look for yourself. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
So my next item is the Ascent.
The Ascent.
Remember the Ascent? It was developed by Neon Giant. It's going to be released for PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 on March 24th.
Wait,
so
that's already on
March.
Is it not on PlayStation?
No. It was on PC, Xbox. It is on PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. It is not on PlayStation or PlayStation at all.
It was a Game Pass game.
It's a Game Pass game. So yeah, it did pretty well. It made 5 million on its first weekend of sale. It got the #1 slot on Steam global charts, and now this information actually got outed by the ESRB back in January because it showed up in their ESRB ratings. But now it is absolutely official, and we have the date, March 24th, that it's a RPG shooter isometric. And yeah, it's coming to and it's free, I should say.
Yeah, free if you subscribe to Amazon Prime.
Right. Yes. So wait a minute, am I got this right? Hold on a second. Have I got this right? Stand by. I may not have this right. I think I might have mixed it up.
Okay. Anyways, I will
much.
say the Ascent was a cool like isometric shooter game. Really fucking rad soundtrack. Soundtrack maybe the best thing about what is also a cool game to play.
Now there's something coming to Amazon Prime, but I don't know if I got that right. No, that I mixed up. I mixed up two different things together into one headline. So ignore that. The Ascent is coming to PlayStation. The Amazon Prime free game that you are going to get this year, right now, actually, there is Madden NFL 2022. Big difference. Wow. So yeah, Amazon Prime is giving away Madden 22. If you are a Prime member, and it is only the PC copies, which are currently going for $18, which is not a huge amount of money anyway, but free is free. So Ascent coming to PlayStation, #1. Madden 22 is available for Amazon Prime on PC for free.
I saw something too that Amazon is gonna hike its cost of Prime. That it's gonna go from like $70 a year to $120.
It's not $70 a year, is it?
It's not? I thought it was.
No, it's like 130, 120. I think Amazon Prime's currently $12 a month. At least that's how much I pay.
I think that's what it is too.
Yeah,
it's a sad state of affairs when we don't know how much it is. We just pay it.
It says it's $15 a month. Oh, but Prime Video membership only is $9 a month.
Oh, okay. I just get the whole thing. I didn't even know there was 2 memberships. I have a problem. I should hold my finances.
I thought I saw that it was going up though. Yeah, Amazon Prime price increased.
Yeah, they increased the price too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they increased their prices.
Okay, it's
I know.
Increasing by $20. So in March 25th, it's going up. Okay, yeah, so it's normally $120 and it's going to go up to $140. And that's for the full Amazon price package, not just video.
Yeah, so it's not like a huge increase. It's still an increase though, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But honestly, given how much work and how much shipping I get, because there's not a week goes by that I don't have something shipped to the house, especially in this last year.
I just want to say this, like, I have Amazon Prime, so, take it with a grain of salt, but fuck Amazon. Amazon's terrible. Like,
Oh yeah,
Amazon is bad business, but I also know I can get just about anything, even obscure Japanese or Korean ingredients for if I want to make authentic kimchi. But on top of that, it is really, at least in the last year, it has been the safest way to get your stuff.
I just wanted to say it because I don't want to praise Amazon Prime's great and all that. Just fuck Amazon. I still use Amazon Prime, but fuck them.
Fuck Amazon. They're awful in a lot of ways.
Agree.
But they also are the reason why I probably the biggest reason why I never caught COVID. I have yet to catch COVID. It's a matter of time.
I haven't. Actually,
I know, but it's a matter of time before we all catch it at least once.
Now Nick's gonna get it next week. Just watch.
I know. Derail all the news segment. I did risk COVID to go and see a movie the other week that I forgot to talk about. And it's related because I went and saw the Uncharted movie.
Oh, I heard the Uncharted movie. It was top of the box office this weekend as well. So it's still continuing. It's rolling.
It's apparently doing very well, which is surprising because it's perfectly mediocre.
Yeah, no, I heard it's not great.
There are some cool ideas in it, but none of them are really executed all that well.
Of course, I heard it's basically because Tom Holland and Uncharted, the names carry this.
Tom Holland is a genuinely great Nathan Drake. I think the young Nathan Drake angle is a little weird, but it's the kind of movie where you see it and you think, oh, in the sequel, I feel like things could get better. If him being a more confident Nathan Drake would be a lot of fun because he's got the physicality of the role absolutely perfect. He's a really good choice. Mark Wahlberg as Sully is fucking terrible.
Who thought that was a good idea? Who?
Listen, I will die on this hill and I'll say it every time it's brought up. It needed to be Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell could do that sarcastic banter and sound charming. Mark Wahlberg doing sarcastic banter just sounds like an asshole.
Yes.
And that's the whole movie, is that he's trying to do that friendly banter, but he just sounds like a goddamn asshole that you just want to punch.
Like someone from Boston. He's
a Boston asshole.
Just a Boston jagoff.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's basically just Mark Wahlberg. If you go into it knowing
Mark Wahlberg doesn't have any characters, he doesn't play anything.
Yeah, he's just
he doesn't act. He's just Mark Wahlberg in a movie.
Mark Wahlberg.
in a movie. That's all he does. He has one character and it is him.
He's like The Rock, but less good.
But
I think The Rock could have done a better job because The Rock actually tries.
Yeah, but The Rock plays one character. He plays The Rock.
Yeah.
It depends on the movie. He has branched out in some movies to play characters.
Yeah.
He has the acting ability. He's no John Cena, I'll say that.
Oh yeah, no. John Cena is a very, very good actor.
Oh yeah.
That's not even sarcasm. His role in Peacemaker was genuinely delightful and really well done.
Oh yeah. He's got emotional range.
In the 80s, we used to call it the curse of Michael J. Fox. Michael J. Fox had one character. He did it very, very well, but that was the only character he ever played, and he made millions out of it. Mark Wahlberg doesn't even have that.
I do feel like Tom Holland may be dangerously close to getting trapped in that, because this Nathan Drake is very, very Peter Parker-esque. He's in a movie on Netflix called The Devil All the Time that I would like to see because he's playing completely against type.
He's also taking a break from acting soon, so maybe when he comes back, he'll have a chance to choose different roles.
Yeah,
he'll apologize.
That's good
for doing that to what could have been a really good movie. This could have been a great movie.
Again,
but
it's not
in the hands of Hollywood, and they keep fucking up video game movies.
It's not awful. Like that's
not a
the
Huey
most
Bowl
frustrating
movie.
thing about it, is that I can see the bones of something that is really cool, but not only is like Mark Wahlberg poorly cast, but a lot of the action scenes, the way they're directed, there's a lack of really exciting energy. The final set piece is an idea that's really over the top in the way that Uncharted is, where you basically have these two ancient ships being airlifted by helicopters and like people dueling from ship to ships in the air. So it's like a ship combat, but in the air with helicopters. And it's like, there's a lot of cool set piece ideas you could do with that. And the movie doesn't really do anything. Like there's a scene where a bunch of mercenaries grapple onto one and then swing over to the other ship in the way that pirates do. And I was watching that going like, oh, they're in helicopters. So you could just move your ship over, right? They don't do that. It's like, oh, that's a really cool thing that you could do that they don't. And there's a moment where Tom Holland like gets the gun, the holster on him, and he's like in the full Uncharted costume, and the music from Uncharted swells, and he has a pistol, and he walks out to the deck, and it's like, oh, he's gonna shoot some fuckers. He takes one shot and loses the gun. It's like, okay, there's a lot of like build up to a cool idea, but then they don't do anything with it. And it's like,
my only wish was,
it was so close because there is good ideas, but
I know you say Tom Holland's a good choice for it, but I feel like he was chosen because he's more popular than necessarily because he fit Nathan Drake.
Like,
if you were going to fit Nathan Drake, you have to do Nathan Fillion. Nathan Fillion is the only Nathan Drake.
So, okay.
No question. No question.
I know you have
Nathan Fillion could be a better Scully.
So you haven't played Uncharted 4, Edie, which is like honestly a sin against nature.
It's pretty good.
But without like spoiling too much, my fan fiction movie would be an Uncharted movie that takes place after Uncharted 4 with an older Nathan Drake that you could use Nathan Fillion for, but the emphasis of that movie would be on a different character. And if you've played it, Andrew, you probably know what character I'm talking about. But like,
sure.
The game ends basically with the introduction of a different character, and I think that character would be a good choice to headline a movie with older Nathan Drake in a supporting role. That is my fan fiction.
I am so angry about the Uncharted movie that I'm not even going to play the Uncharted trailer. You just keep talking about the Uncharted movie. I'm going to play the right one.
I thought you said I'm not going to play the Uncharted game, which feels like that's just hurting yourself. I will say, I came out of that movie going, man, I really want to play Uncharted 4 again.
I never finished Uncharted 4. That is in my trash can of happy games.
So you don't know the character that I'm talking about that appears in the end?
No. But yeah. No, we can't watch this. We have more news to go to. Like, Edie, we have to.
No, we've got to watch this. If you have not watched the Nathan Fillion fan movie, come on. I mean, Jesus Christ. Where is it? I'm fast forwarding to the gun scene. Oh, such genius. So good. Like, look at this. How could
they just did it to mimic the game? You know,
yes, I know. So good.
At least it's not a Huey Bowl movie.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it is. The Uncharted movie is at least watchable in a way that no Uwe Boll movie is. I take it back. Postal was against all odds an actually funny movie.
All right. Back to the news.
All right. Sorry. I'm just angry about Uncharted not being good. It shouldn't have been good or passable. It should have been great.
Well, okay,
and that's what makes me angry.
I remember when Uncharted, the video game, first came out, a lot of people were like, hey, this is a pretty neat game. This is cool. It's
It's
not
a movie. It's a
fantastic.
watchable movie. It's a playable movie.
But then Uncharted 2 came out, and that's the one that really solidified the game's reputation for the cinematic adventure. That was the game that set the bar. So, if history repeats itself, the Uncharted movie is like, okay, this is fine, but Uncharted 2, the movie, might be the one that actually sets the new bar and becomes like the next Indiana Jones.
My next door neighbor, who because he's fascinated by the fact that I game at my age, and he's like, I mean, I don't know anything about video games beyond like what it was in the 80s. I'm very interested to see what it is about games that you really, really like. And I said, well, you need to come over and I'll play a game and you can watch. And the game, no question, I am going to play is Uncharted.
Okay.
I'm going to play Uncharted 4 for him. And I'm assuming that that's going to be good because I'm never going to have to have played it before. But that's the game where I'm going to like, this is what gaming is to me. And this is going to feel great to you.
I think it's the best of the Uncharted's. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the link. There you go. Just don't even bother to spend your money on a subpar video game movie. Just go for free and just watch that, and that will get your yayas out. And then know that if you spend all the money to go to a theater, that you're only going to be disappointed. Amy Henning link because. All right. Anyway, next item.
Right. I guess we were talking about Game Pass earlier. So Gabe Newell said that he would be open to Game Pass coming to Steam. They're not really interested in doing it themselves, like a service like that themselves, but they would be more than willing to like have the Game Pass be on Steam. I just want to say I'm here for it. I would love that. Like my biggest issue with the Game Pass was that it was aside from like any of my Steam library and like my Steam achievements and stuff like that. So if I would probably get Game Pass on Steam.
But if that happened, would the games in Game Pass like that? Oh my God, I've gotten like 4 Amber Alerts today and my phone keeps blowing up.
I've gotten none.
Damn, children getting kidnapped.
Right?
Yeah, well, there was a 2-year-old that was in the back of a car that got carjacked. So there's been a couple of those this week, which is unusual for happen once, but it happened twice in one
and
week.
It's just like
it woke me up. It woke me up in the morning. Kids. Anyways, like that seems like a weird idea because it's a storefront in a storefront. Like it's getting very Inception-esque at that point. And like, would the features of Steam then apply to any of the games you download in Game Pass? And would the services of Game Pass and features of Game Pass then apply to things in Steam? Like, at what point what happens? I mean, or is it like Inception where each level is its own completely different thing and nothing interacts? Or is it like Inception where if you go off a bridge in one level, it makes a zero gravity in another level? How does it work?
I was going to say this, but AC Wraith is right. Like Steam already allows you to subscribe to EA like subscription, EA Origins. So like it's already a thing. So I imagine like the back end's there for something like this. Like that. Like I already hate Epic Games for that exact reason of not like having it with the rest of my Steam stuff. But like then going and getting a Game Pass, like I love a lot of the games there. I would just love to play them on Steam with like the rest of my collection. And
the quote that Newell said, and he said it to PC Gamer, was, quote, "I don't think it's something that we think we need. We think we need to do ourselves, building a subscription service at this time. But for their customers, it's clearly a popular option, and we'd be more than happy to work with them to get it on Steam."
Yeah.
Well, okay, I guess because like I know Game Pass also. Well, I'm trying to think again. There's a weird Inception level here because I think the way the EA service works, there's not an EA Play app on Steam that you open. It's more like you link your accounts, your EA Play account and your Steam account, so that games you could play with the EA subscription, you can then download on Steam. So I wonder if that would be how the Game Pass works. It's like you link your Microsoft account with your Steam account, and then you can basically just download Game Pass games through Steam
I think
without
that's how it would work.
paying for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would make more sense than opening an app in Steam, which then opens up another storefront.
Oh no, I think you'd be able to download it through Steam.
Mhm.
Okay, that makes way more sense.
And I honestly, I'd love it. I would like that. I don't.
I would
think-
like that too.
outside of the Game Pass stuff, like Windows has tried to like do their Windows Store. The only game I've ever bought from it was State of Decay 2. Like that's the only game I've ever bought on Microsoft Store.
It's a good game to download. I mean, of all the games,
I just don't
solid
think
pick.
right. I just don't think it's going to match Steam or Epic. And outside of the Game Pass, it just feels like another app. Like I don't want the Xbox app.
IRC the Origin client. AC Ray says the Origin client briefly opened silently in the background. I think that's how I played Andromeda.
Okay, because I remember I played some Ubisoft games on Steam a while ago, and the same thing happened where Uplay opened in the background. So
Yeah, I mean that might happen here too with Xbox.
yeah, I assume that's what would happen. Like the Game Pass app would launch, but from the user's perspective, it happens in the background, like he said.
Yeah. And also unrelated, but other than the fact that it was also Gabe Newell, he spoke with IGN a few days ago. It was released, and there was talk about possible price increases, or they asked about price increases for the Steam Deck, which just launched a little while ago. Because obviously supply chain, when they announced this thing and developed this thing, the supply chain was a very different beast than it is right now. And prices were a very different beast, and inflation was a very different beast. And so there's been a lot of talk out there that they want people wondering if Valve was going to be increasing the price of the Steam Deck simply because of. There you go. Now I got mine. Woohoo! All right. Sorry about that. Unfortunately, you can't mute these. They go past mute. So Gabe Newell said no, that there will that they don't anticipate a price increase, at least at this time. He said the Valve views the current price of the Steam Deck as fixed, largely because he said it was a commitment to the public, to the buyers, that when they announced a price, that would be the net price that it would be for a significant amount of time. He said, quote, I mean, part of what you do with pricing is you're making a promise to customers, but we wouldn't expect to be adjusting the SKU pricing. Of course, that's right now.
I mean,
Other
I can't
further
imagine-
instabilities within the markets might affect that. I mean,
if
everything's
anything,
pretty freaking volatile right now.
that would affect the resale price, like with resellers, but you can't have the original purchaser changing the price, or the original seller. Like Sony can't increase the PS5 to $600. That would
But there is the issue of when they set that pricing, there was an understanding of like what was going to happen. It's like price of milk goes up, price of beef goes up, price of gas goes up. Why wouldn't the price of everything else, considering how much more expensive these things are to make? They price in a certain amount of loss in the early years to accumulate it later. And if they can't accumulate that later because they are now selling at such a significant deficit because of the price of inflation and the cost of materials, then they've got to readjust their prices.
But there's not an MSRP on milk or gas, right? They're meant to be variable.
This is unprecedented times.
A DVD comes out.
We're not talking about usual stuff happening. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Nobody expected things like this to happen with the inflation, with the chip
they
supply just drying up.
But I feel like there would be a backlash in considering how well Steam's hardware has traditionally been. I think Valve would want to avoid like the one piece of hardware that seems to be getting positive reviews and kneecap that in a way that fucks it forever. People loved the Vive. No one bought the Vive except for a small niche group of rich VR enthusiasts because it was $1,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like their hardware has traditionally been overpriced to the point that it never actually gets anywhere. It never becomes mainstream. All of their Steam machines that came out were also overpriced that no one bought them.
I mean, I might buy their VR. All I'm saying.
Yeah, it's that the Amber Alert is that kid that was in the back of the car while the mother was loading groceries, and somebody came up and carjacked the car with the kid in the car.
Okay,
I guess they haven't found him.
Anyways, I'm just saying, Valve has traditionally like their hardware is a joke. Like it's good, but like no one ever buys it. Like it's a joke. And the one piece of hardware they have that people seem to like, why would you kneecap that by then raising the price a couple months after it comes out? It feels like doing that would doom the Steam Deck to become the next Steam machine.
I don't know. I mean, they may not have a choice. Like, if they
Valve has a choice. Valve can eat whatever loss they take on the Steam Deck. They have Steam. Fuck that. They can eat whatever losses they take on hardware. If Sony and Microsoft can eat the loss on their consoles, Valve of all companies can eat the loss on their hardware.
It's going to depend if essentially they're going to want to up the price and sell less units and maybe make less units, or take the hit on like the current pricing. Like whatever costs less to them, they'll do.
No, Pissed in the chat is right. They have a $600 bundle, and all they do is add in some $5 dongle and then increase the price like $50 to $100. That's what they will do. It's a new bundle with new features.
I did not expect this to get under your skin quite so much, Nick. This is not the story I would have picked.
Well,
I would have picked the Uncharted movies before I picked that.
It's just I find the idea of like even bringing it up, are you going to raise the price, to be such an absurd speculation.
I don't find it absurd at all.
I find it completely absurd.
I don't. I mean, you were defending $70 games. Like, this doesn't feel too
again.
Right? You just said $20 for Amazon Prime. Prices go up. But this has you upset. The suggestion that they might increase the price of Steam Deck because they can't get the parts for the prices that they originally built it for. That it has probably significantly thrown off the profit margins on these. Not even the profit margins. There is no margin.
It's the idea of, hey, the PS5 just came out for $500. 6 months later, we're going to sell it for $600. That feels like such a slap in the face to anyone that didn't get in
Not at
on
all.
like the first super wave.
Not at all.
Again, it feels like it would take a company that has traditionally had a very difficult time breaking into the hardware space and just make it even harder to break into the hardware.
Yeah, that probably has something to do with the decision not to. Even though they are
I can't emphasize enough. Valve and hardware have always been bad. Like, not that the products they make are bad, but that they have tried so many different hardware iterations over the years. None of them.
I think I got a couple of them over on a shelf that I've literally never opened. I've bought them and never
I have
used
a
them.
Steam controller. Their Steam,
Steam controllers.
Streaming thing. What was it? Their Steam thing. They were selling that for $5. Has like
that's when I bought it.
Yes,
We're,
they're like,
we're
"Well,
also
we made this thing. It works pretty well, but no one fucking wants it, so we're just gonna like sell it on the dimes." Like,
Mhm.
listen. I mean, this is kind of right. Reason is COVID. Deal with it. You want it or not. But the fact is it is like an unprecedented time. Like in general, I want to make a kind of comparison. Is that NVIDIA recently announced their new graphics card, the 3050. It's meant to be like the super budget version of like the new set of cards. They do this every year, and it's starting at retail at $420.
mhm.
The other like older versions of this came out around $200. So like the budget option is now $420. Like think
will
about
they
what this,
increase that after it comes out? That's the difference. There's a difference between announcing a product at a price and then raising it, and then just
well,
announcing a new product at a higher
like
price.
6 years, like 6 months ago, they announced like the maybe not 6 months ago, but like recently they announced the 3060 that's been out for a while. That
Mhm.
starts at 400. Like the 3060 Ti, which is a better version of this card, starts at MSRP $400. They came
Okay.
out with a worse version that is more expensive. That is
Okay.
what we're dealing with here. Like
Yeah,
Steam,
still,
like the
it's a
Steam
new
Deck,
product at a new price. That's a completely different scenario.
like
I bought Elden Ring for $60. If in a month it's suddenly $80,
a lot of graphics cards came out last year and they immediately raised in price because of tariffs and the shortage. Like the companies that got those graphics cards after they had gone like came out raised the price on them.
the
Like
resellers raise the price.
yeah. And so did Nvidia on their own cards.
Well, see,
Like
then fuck Nvidia. Let's burn down their company because they're doing this shitty thing.
anyway.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So moving right along. Next item.
Valve makes millions of dollars.
All these companies make millions.
Whatever.
All of them do.
Whatever Valve complains about profits, fuck that. They make so much money on Steam. They can
This is
eat.
exactly how I feel
That's-
about like
You know why they can make so many pieces of hardware that don't take off and sink all that money into such failures? It's because they have Steam money, like letting them. They're like Elon Musk, like, you know what? I'm going to go to space as a hobby because I make so much money elsewhere.
this is how I feel about raising game prices $10. Like this is exactly how I feel about
But
that.
it's not
Like,
because that's a new
I just-
product at a new price.
oh my god. So if they came out with the Steam Deck Plus, which is basically the same Steam Deck, but maybe with one small tweak, and then they could raise it $100, you'd be
Yes.
fine with that?
Yes. Again, like what Piss said, you come out with a new bundle with a $5 sticker and you raise it $100.
That is such an arbitrary fucking line.
It may be, but that's my line, and I'm gonna die on it. I will die on this hill. You will not get past this line.
You're gonna die alone on that hill. No one else wants to be on that hill. It's a bad hill. All right. Anyways,
Yeah,
moving on to
what-
Nick's
what he says-
unhinged
what-
rant.
What Pissed says in this comment is exactly right. The price increase will be part of a new bundle, and you won't be able to find the console by itself after the stock dries up. That's exactly true.
But that's
that-
okay. That's
that-
okay to you.
Yes.
Oh my god.
A new
Oh my
SKU gets you a new price. Once you have that SKU, you don't fuck with it. You don't move it up. You can move it down, but you don't move it up. If you want a new price, you make a new SKU.
And this is why Nick is a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar corporation.
Yes, because I know how to manipulate the SKUs to make consumers feel good about buying a new overpriced product instead of making them feel bad about buying a product that was then marked up after the fact.
And just as a reminder, one price that hasn't gone up is GameHounds. We're only asking for $1 a month. That's all we ask to help support this show.
Our
25
SKU
cents
never goes up.
per show. Per if you have 4 shows, unless if you have those rare 5 Sunday show months. Yeah, just saying.
And soon we'll be raising that to $1.25 due to inflation.
No, fuck that. I'm out. I will not be part of a podcast that raises a SKU. If you want to do that, you make a new bundle.
It'll be GameHounds Plus.
Yeah, exactly. We'll put out GameHounds Plus, and that'll be
Yeah,
$2.
for an extra 25 cents, we'll send you a 50-cent dongle.
Mhm.
No, wait, no, it's bad.
No, for next
Wait,
week.
yeah, you're right. Never mind.
See, this is why I'm the CEO.
All right, so moving right along to something that I know that will shut Nick up because he doesn't care. BioWare has provided a very small update on Dragon Age 4. They said that they are now quote unquote, right in the middle of production. This is according to the studio general manager, Gary McKay. They're still set for a 2023 release. Good. Okay. I don't believe it, and I'm concerned, but anyway. But something else that concerns me is that there was an announcement that the executive producer, who's now the second or third executive producer on this game, has left. Christian Daly. He was with the company since 2018. He replaced Mark Dara, who was the executive producer of pretty much all the Dragon Ages up to this point. But Gary McKay, the general manager, said that there's still a strong leadership team there, that it's not going to make that much of a difference, that we're going to carry this through to production. Everything's going to be fine. And interestingly enough, I don't know if you knew this, but Mark Dara, who is a god of games, he has a very small YouTube channel that he posts to, which is very insider information of how the nuts and bolts of games are made. And it's really interesting. I think he gets like 1,000 views if he's lucky per video. And since I discovered his channel, I've subscribed to it and watch it every week or whenever he issues a missive. Some of them are like way over my head. Some of them are very straightforward. But he came out with one last week or this week that essentially said, don't worry about it. Dragon Age is going to be fine. A lot of the people working on this have been working on it for years. They know exactly what they're doing. BioWare knows exactly what they're doing. They have learned their mistakes from Andromeda. They have learned their mistakes from Anthem. They probably won't be making the same mistakes. And it does not matter who's the executive director right now, because there's a solid team there. It doesn't matter that I left. It doesn't matter that Christian Daly left. It will be fine. Don't worry. It'll come out and it will be better than you think it will be. And he is someone who has been very straightforward about information. He does not, blow smoke up people's asses for any reasons. So it gave me a little more hope that Dragon Age 4 is going to be okay, just simply because Mark Dara has said Dragon Age is going to be fine. Don't worry. I would trust him more than anyone else telling me that, but still, my reservations remain in place, and probably a little bit stronger in that is now the second executive director that has left the company mid-process on this game.
Look, I know we've hit like 3 or 4 icebergs, but don't worry, the ship is fine.
The ship is fine.
I'm gonna go get some milk. I'll be right back. I swear. I'm just gonna go.
Check on something. I got a phone call. I got a thing.
I left the stove on.
I'll be right. I'll be right back.
Don't worry. This chopper is only for me, but you're all gonna be fine.
That's right.
Don't worry about it.
Get to the chopper.
Dragon Age 4 is going to be the Andromeda of the Dragon Age series.
Oh, no, don't say that. Oh, I so don't want that to be true. I so don't want that to be true.
It'll make Wraith happy.
It will break my heart. It would break my heart in so many pieces if this is bad. Like more than Uncharted. Like I will truly cry if it is bad. I will absolutely cry. So AC Ray says, honestly, if your ship can survive hitting that many iceberg, it seems pretty impressive. Good point.
Not wrong. Not wrong. All right.
All right. So next item. Sorry, I had not fixed my camera earlier. I realized that when I realized I was in widescreen and did not want to be. Anybody got something? I got something.
Okay, you want to talk? I ranted a lot. I feel
It's
like I need to take a step back.
yeah, you need to take a breath, maybe have a drink of water. In with the good, out with the bad. PlayStation, it's kind of boring, but it's interesting. PlayStation, a patent filed by Sony indicates that we may have a very big update coming sometime, maybe, about ray tracing. This was spotted by a user, Twitter user called Onion00048, which sounds hella reliable, but it is actually out there. Sony filed a patent associated with the PlayStation 5 that was filed by Mark Cherney, who's the architect of the PlayStation 5. The patent states that Sony's looking into accelerated ray tracing for the PlayStation 5, which essentially means that games that offer ray tracing would end up seeing a very sizable improvement, because that has been an issue and is an issue currently in a number of titles that do use ray tracing. It comes that if you turn on the ray tracing, the performance goes down.
I've tried using ray tracing. Like, I've got that 3080 a while back, and like, it has ray tracing capabilities. It's one of the best cards in the market. I can't play with ray tracing. I just can't.
Really?
The performance hit is just too much on almost everything. Like, Dying Light has like 4 different ray tracing options. All of them are turned off for me.
Wow.
Because I just can't play it with ray tracing.
Yeah, that sucks. But yeah, so it doesn't necessarily mean this feature is going to appear as part of any update in the near future, but at least Sony is clearly working on this and has had enough of a breakthrough that they felt necessary for a patent on it.
This will be a feature in the PlayStation 6.
Andy Pandy says after Battlefield 2042, pre-orders are dead to me. Yeah.
It's like after mentioning that pre-order for Dragon Age 4 would be a bold move.
Yeah.
No.
That's
a good.
I'm not pre-ordering it, and I'm not even buying it day one. And this is saying something. This is my game. Capital MY, my game, underlined, bold, italic, 24 point. And I'm not buying it day one.
I want to just jump on that comment about Battlefield real quick. I don't know if you guys realized how much of an unmitigated disaster it is. It's been out for about 4 months now, maybe 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And it is currently down to 2,063 players on Steam. And it is less than Battlefield 5 at 2,078.
Oh, no. That's so bad. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know 2,000? Just over 2,400 concurrent players?
2,063 current players right now, with a 30-day average of 3,257. 3 months after it launched.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh
everything I heard about that. And even then, the fixes that they have for some of the UI features people didn't like can't solve the fundamental issue of specialists changing the balance of play that people liked, and 120 people per map is just too big.
I don't know if it's too big as much as the maps are not designed in a way that make you feel like you're playing with 120 people. It's You guys remember the PS3 game Mag?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's one of the first games I got on the PlayStation 3, and that's why I never picked up the PlayStation 3 afterwards.
256 people in one game, but how it worked out was it was essentially like 4 maps in one game, and there would be no reason to travel to the other maps. You could, but there was no reason to do that. So technically it was 256 people, but it only ever felt like a 30-player deathmatch. And that's what it kind of feels here with 120 people is there's 120 people, but you never get that sense of scope while playing.
Yeah, it's like the maps are big enough that every fight happens in its own little thing. It's a bunch of skirmishes.
And I think that does it a disservice. You need tighter combat to deal with 120 people to make it feel epic.
Yeah.
Yep. Moving right along. Let's see. There are games that are leaving Game Pass that you should know about. 6 games are leaving this week. They're going to all start vanishing tomorrow on the 28th. So here they are: Hypnospace, Outlaw, Killer Queen Black, Stealth Inc. 2, and Sylʹna Nights are going to be gone by tomorrow. And in the case of Hypnospace, Outlaw, and Sylʹna Nights, those titles are going to be leaving for Game Pass for both the console and the PC versions. There's going to be 2 additional games that are disappearing later on. One of them is the original Titanfall we've talked about that before. It was supposed to be happening sooner than we thought, but it's gone entirely on March 1st. And that's because EA and Respawn are delisting the game from the digital storefront entirely. And that means it's gone from Game Pass. And then Kingdom Hearts 3 is the final game that is going to be leaving, according to the Xbox website. It was supposed to have, that game was supposed to have left in January, but it didn't for one reason or another. It never quite crossed over. Probably a lot of people complaining, probably the other technical reasons why they didn't delist it. But Xbox site has now slated it to leave at some point coming in the next 2 weeks. So if you have not downloaded Kingdom Hearts 3 off of Game Pass, well, actually, if you haven't played it, because once they download it off of, if you're want to play it on Game Pass, when it goes, whether you have it or not. So if you were hoping to play Kingdom Hearts 3 at some point in time, you might want to do it right now. You got a little bit of a 2-month reprieve, but you need to do it now. I needed to be done in 2 weeks. Anybody else?
I'm good for now. I'm actually kind of like getting super hungry, and I don't know if we have a lot. Yeah, well, I was gonna just skip that, but it's mostly just a teardown piece on kind of the state of Square Enix right now.
Yeah, everything underperforms to them, it seems.
Yeah, in a recent call, apparently Guardians of the Galaxy underperformed substantially compared to what they estimated it should have done. And this has been a running trend with anything that is like their single player, like their offerings lately. It's kind of at this point assumed that they just have unreasonably high expectations for how things are supposed to go. Like when the new Tomb Raider came out, like when it was first rebooted, that underperformed despite being one of the best like rated games of that time because they had such stupidly high numbers.
Yeah, and I think it even outsold all the previous Tomb Raiders.
Yeah, but it was still underperformed compared to what Square Enix wanted. And Guardians of the Galaxy, which by all accounts is really good. Everyone who's played it that I've talked to.
Oh yeah, really it's been that people have been super surprised at how good it is.
I feel like they
should have surprised.
I feel like they should have lowered their expectations after Avengers came out and kind of sullied the water. Because I think a lot of people probably didn't play this because they were bit by Avengers.
Yeah, and not to mention it's always a little rough when you do a Marvel property and you don't use like Chris Pratt, for instance, as Star-Lord here. It's a different, like, it's more closely related to the comics. That being said, everyone loved it. Like, the writing is really well done here. And yeah, it just sucks that like this is a failure to them. Like Deus Ex, for instance, that's another game that I think did pretty well, but it was supposed to have a third installment of the game. It got canceled. And I don't know if it's just because it is a Marvel game that they expected it to do way better, but they need to change how they predict how well games will do and what it means to underperform. In my very uneducated opinion about the business of Square Enix.
Yeah, I would also be very, very curious because all the games they talk about are Western games. I would be very curious what their expectations are for Project Triangle Strategy, the game from the Octopath Traveler developer that's coming out in March. It's a Switch exclusive game. It's a pixel art RPG. What are their estimates for that? Right? Are they high? Are they low? What are their estimates for Final Fantasy 16 when that comes out?
Yeah, and it's troubling because by all accounts, like another well-written game like this seems like it should be a shoo-in. But will we ever see anything like that? I don't know. Like they didn't really give solid numbers for how well this did or what they were expecting. I think they did that once and they realized that was a gigantic mistake. But you made a good game. Like, it sold well. That should be rewarded, but it's not here with Square Enix.
Yeah.
All right. So, any other stories before we close down the show?
Yeah.
Do I have anything else?
One more that's probably interesting. In leaked comments, EA's CEO, Andrew Wilson, has kind of talked. He's talked about how the FIFA brand is holding back their game development. Specifically, and I don't know exactly where these comments came from, but they are leaked statements. He said, "Our players tell us they want more modes of play beyond 11 versus 11, but FIFA doesn't want that." He complained about how the FIFA license limits their ability to include different brands. So, like, since FIFA has a relationship with Adidas, that prevents EA from getting Nike advertising in their game. And anytime FIFA does approve something, it does it too slow of a process for them to include it in games in a timely manner. And he has specifically said, like, this comes after FIFA has reportedly asked for $1 billion every 4 years for EA to have the FIFA license. And because of that,
$250 million a year.
Yes. And because of that, EA has kind of balked, and they've even gone so far as to put out not a copyright, like a trademark for like EA FC Club, like EA Football Club, which would be an un-FIFA branded game should they decide not to go with it. And elsewhere in whatever leaked thing this is, Andrew Wilson has said, basically what we get from FIFA in a non-World Cup year is the 4 letters on front of the box in a world where most people don't even see the box anymore because they buy the game digitally. And then even in World Cup years, the added authenticity of having a digital version of the international tournament is important, but it's not the most important thing. So
I would normally be like, fuck FIFA. You know, they're assholes. And don't get me wrong, FIFA are assholes. But, you know, EA has essentially taken a game that should be a game and turned it into a casino. So it's like 2 assholes. And
honestly,
one of them wants to rip the other one off. That's fine with me.
And I just want to say, I think it's bullshit. Like, the only reason EA doesn't give a shit about their consumers, they just don't.
No, they don't.
The only reason why they're making a stink about this would be because they have marketing strategies that will make them more money that they can't. And that is the only reason why they're pissed about this.
FIFA's asking a lot of money. And
honestly, rightfully so.
Like the advertising.
Is it rightfully so though? I feel like he raises
FIFA knows how much money EA is making off of addicts and children.
But are they making that money off because of the FIFA name?
Doesn't matter.
If they're not, then honestly, why would EA pay FIFA for that license when they could make this game with Ultimate Team?
Because they're not gonna. Because people are not gonna play FIFA. Okay, so they're just not. They won't. They won't.
They won't play non-FIFA.
They won't play non-FIFA because it is the FIFA players who
But that's
perpetuate
the thing.
people getting these cards that they pull a slot machine. Children and addicts continually pull the slot machine to get these cards.
But that's actually a thing.
Those
The FIFA
personalities.
license, EA has deals with
Oh,
all
that's
of the
true.
teams individually. All they get from the deal with FIFA is the word FIFA.
Yeah,
So
that's
even
true.
in their non-FIFA sports game, they will still have all the teams, all the same
Ronaldo
rosters.
and everybody else. Yeah.
It just won't be FIFA.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, I think the way that these games work, that regardless, they're going to make a lot of money. I do
Sure.
think they'd probably take a hit if they don't have the FIFA brand. It just depends on how much time they want to invest in rebuilding up whatever new thing they make.
I'm just because I'm all for them dropping the FIFA name just because it's interesting. I think that would be kind of a neat wave in the EA Sports ocean.
Fuck
And
EA.
because, like you said, fuck FIFA.
Yeah. Fuck FIFA.
Honestly,
Fuck FIFA. Fuck EA. Fuck Bobby Kotick.
honestly, like,
Okay,
fuck
EA's
EA
not Bobby
more than-
Kotick. There's
Fuck all of them. What was it? What was the other one? That started the whole thing with not
Listen.
Shigeru Miyamoto.
Patrick?
No.
Konami.
Huh?
Yves
Yeah,
Guillemot?
fuck Konami. Fuck Konami.
Oh,
Fuck Activision. Fuck Bobby. Fuck
Listen.
EA. Fuck FIFA.
FIFA makes more money for EA than any of their other properties, like, combined.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of money that FIFA makes, EA is staggering. It's
Off
basically
of addicts and
yeah.
children.
like,
Okay, I will
so-
say though, if like for all the problems that the monetization of FIFA has, it is no Take-Two NBA.
This is true.
Take-Two
Is it though?
NBA is the absolute nadir of what you can expect from like sports games and microtransactions.
I think
So
it's pretty close.
FIFA is not the lowest of the low.
I think it's close enough, personally.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that true? Is that true?
Yes.
I don't know, but like the fact that FIFA wants more of the pie, like, I don't know. I don't hold them against them. Like, they made a business deal, and it's been incredibly profitable for EA.
I see seeing what FIFA brings to the table feels laughable at this point. When I
Are we
read
sure?
Microsoft has deals with other teams, like
Yeah.
what is FIFA actually doing other than just being a roadblock?
This
would
is
never
this
trust-
is essentially Darth Vader versus the Emperor. Nobody wins, nobody loses.
Honestly, I don't trust EA in this. I think the reasons they gave were complete horseshit. The most real one probably being like the Nike advertising.
Well, remember this wasn't a public statement.
It wasn't.
Like this was leaked statements. This was like Andrew Wilson talking to someone, talking to staff, and like his comments getting leaked to the press. So this isn't like public posturing. Unless you want to get really conspiratorial and saying like he purposely leaked these.
Yeah,
Then. But
I don't know.
you could go anywhere.
Honestly, we're talking about stuff like it doesn't matter. Honestly, I don't care if FIFA breaks with them. It's whatever. This affects a large portion of players. Obviously, there's a lot of people who just buy FIFA or Madden and stuff like that. For them, it matters. But overall, I don't think it'll make a big difference, regardless.
Mhm.
Like, it just won't. They have monopolized the market for like soccer games in particular. That you'll still buy the EA version no matter what, whatever it is, FIFA or otherwise.
Yeah. All right. On that note, can we end the show? Because Andrew's,
let's see, what
I
else-
see
what else do
Andrew
I
starting to
have?
lag. Stop. Andrew is lagging. Let's be nice, Nick.
I'm
Let's be
lagging?
nice. Yes, you're hungry. You're
All right.
tired. You want to go. You've already indicated you want to go. I don't blame you. This is a 3-hour show. 3 hour is too long. Even the listeners say 3 hours is too long.
I did not mean to be a bitch about it, though.
It's all right. You're our little bitch and we love you.
Wow.
Yay.
What a backhanded compliment. Damn.
That's all right. Everybody needs to be the princess and Andrew's ours.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay. Guys.
Look at Andrew here
and,
wanting to eat and sleep. Ooh.
before work.
All right. So, on that note, thank you so much for listening to GameHounds podcast. Again, thank you again to AC Wraith, who provides us all the links. Thank you for being such a freaking rock star in our corner. It makes all the difference in the world. If you ever want to get a hold of us, gamehounds.net is our slightly broken website since our the Spreaker feed sort of went down. That I will hopefully get sorted out this week. Again, I do want to remind you there is that Patreon. We only ask for $1 a month. Just that's what keeps us going. So please feel free to donate, subscribe. We would love to have our patrons. And if you are a patron, thank you again. I've already said it once in the show. You're the reason why we're still going, given all the issues that we're having with our audio side, the actual audio podcast side. Thank God for you. We do have a Discord. That Discord is populated. I don't get to it as much as I like to lately. I promise this week I will do that. But yeah, other GameHounds listeners, also Andrew's in there occasion, Nick is in their occasion. I will occasionally be in there. There is our Discord channel. Feel free to join us and connect with the rest of the community. And if you have listened all the way to the end, all 10 of you, thank you for doing so. Please take a moment. If you are watching this on whatever platform you're on, we record this show every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Facebook and Twitch, we are the GameHounds. On YouTube, we are GameHounds Vids, VIDS, all one word, GameHounds Vids. But if you are watching us on Twitch or Facebook or YouTube, please take a moment to like and subscribe. It really, really does make a difference, especially on YouTube. That if the more likies, the more little thumbs up we get, the more there's not that many of us, but it means that every single thumbs up really does matter to the algorithm. So please take a moment, if you haven't already, to hit the like button. And if you would like to subscribe and get notified that we are on every week or whenever we come live, please do so. It helps you, so that way you don't when we're 15 minutes late, you will know that we're 15 minutes late because you didn't get a notification. Again, thanks to everyone listening. We will talk to you next week here at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern here on GameHounds. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.